As our 95th running of the Boston Marathon coverage continues. Stay with us. This is a race, but it's more than that. It's a holiday, it's a happening, and it's a sporting event. We're going to cover it as such in all those ways. And once again, we're going to be able to provide you with the latest in race results as we go along the course with our exclusive Spotters Network. And we want to show you exactly how that works so you know what to expect this afternoon. When you see this sign, you will know that our exclusive Spotters Network is working to keep you informed of the progress of the race. We will have 60 spotters in 23 locations on the course to keep track of any changes in the race. Our spotters will be able to keep track of any lead changes that occur, plus tell you what's happening in the pack of both the men's and women's field. We will be able to give you the leaders' time throughout the race and tell you if any of the runners will break a course or a world record. With the help of our spotters, we are able to bring you the most accurate and up-to-date information on the progress of the race. This is the 60th time Johnny Kelly will make the 26-mile, 385-yard run from Hopkinton to Boston. He looks 20 years younger than his 83 years, and he says he is physically ready for the challenge.
Well, I have a doctor in Dallas, Texas, Dr. Cooper, and I recently passed my physical exam with all A's. No cancer, cholesterol, the whole bit. I broke the record on the treadmill, and he said, Dr. Cooper said, go to it.
Kelly fell in love with the Boston Marathon back in 1921 when his father took him to see his first race. 14 years later, Kelly won the Boston Marathon with his father looking on.
I had a feeling that 1935 that I was going to win it, and I did.
The next few years, Johnny was the bridesmaid as he finished second 7 times. But in 1945, he ran a patient race and won again.
I held back and paced myself properly, and 2 miles to go at Coolidge Corner, I passed the last runner, and I won.
Running is Johnny Kelly's life. He has raced in just about every major marathon, including twice in the Olympic Games. He trains year-round near his home in the Cape. He hopes to finish this year's race in 5 hours as he looks forward to that moment when he crosses the finish line to the cheers of the people.
You go through so much for the whole marathon that when you come in to finish, you hear all that love and everything, you know.
When not running, Kelly loves to spend his time painting in the basement of his home. He's been painting for 25 years and sees some similarity between his running and his painting.
I'm tired when I finish this. I'm tired when I finish my run. But I feel as though I've accomplished something. I have a philosophy. It's my philosophy. And other people are trying to copy it. It's called the 3 Ds. Desire, dedication, and determination. And that'll cover a lot of bases.
That is how Kelly has lived his life. He says he's not sure how much longer he will continue to run marathons. But in the same breath, he says he will never retire.
Looking back upon my younger days, I figure that I was a better runner than nowadays than I really thought I was at that time. I've had a love affair with the Boston Marathon all my life. And I hope it'll continue.
Absolutely remarkable. Number 60, Johnny Kelly. It's the 60th marathon. There he is live. Pictures in Hopkinton. You ought to keep this in mind. He is not just running. He is competing. He is racing today. They offered to give him a 10-minute head start so that he could be recognized by the crowds. He said, no, that would be cheating. It's not fair. He is competing today in his 60th Boston Marathon at 83 years old. All right, coming up, the start of the 1991 Boston Marathon. We're 4 minutes away. We'll come back and talk to our experts about pre-race strategy as we get set for the start of the 95th Boston Marathon. Now, here, with this moment, Johnny Kelly will be introduced to the crowd.
On this momentous occasion, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the oldest competitor, but the youngest at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, here for his 60th Boston Marathon start, Johnny Kelly. Johnny, could you please step out, please?
Just a brief little warm-up for John Kelly as he heads down the Hopkinton Hill and will go back in the pack. All right, they'll get him back in his slot. We'll get set for the start of the marathon. We'll be right back. Well, there's a scene from our helicopter, the starting line at Hopkinton. It is as spectacular this year as it has been every other year. Of course, back when this race was first run in 1897, there were only 15 runners at the starting line. 10 finished the race. That was 95 years ago, but look what it has grown into today. We are less than a half minute away from the start. You can see the runners are checking their watches, getting everything set. Members of the BAA are lining the starting line right now, and now are moving off the course and getting set to go for the 95th running of the Boston Marathon.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It is still one of the most spectacular scenes in all of sport, the river of runners down through Hopkinton. Think back 95 years, there were just 15 of them, and today, 9,000. And this is not the largest crowd of runners ever to participate in the Boston Marathon, not by a long shot, but they're there today, 9,000 strong, and on their way to where we are at the finish line at the Boston Public Library. Greg Meyer, you won this race back in 1983.
Ladies and
as far as
gentlemen,
the pre-race strategy goes and some of the thoughts of these elite runners as they break down the hills toward Ashland, what is actually happening with them?
I always hated this part of the race because you always had the fear that somebody was going to trip you and all that work was going to be just right down the drain. You just wanted to get through that first mile clear so that things thin out and you can actually get into a pace and start racing.
Well, Rob DiCastella unfortunately lived that nightmare a few years ago. Frank, your thoughts about this part?
You really do want to stay out of trouble and try to relax because it goes downhill so fast here. They will run somewhere around 4 minutes and 30 seconds for this first mile without even trying. You actually have to hold yourself back and not get sucked out.
Frank Shorter and Greg Meyer and Catherine Switzer with me back in our location at the finish line. Tim Kilduff is out where the action is on the lead men's truck. Tim.
This is where the action is. There was a good, clean start here. Just before the gun went off, the wind began to pick up, and they've got a nice tailwind right at their back at this point. But a good, clean start, and as Greg and Frank have talked about, at this start, this first mile is downhill, but I heard last week, it was written last week, that it's like jumping off a cliff almost. It's steep, and it gets people set up, but it was safe. We're on our way here.
All right, Timmy, thank you very much. The early seconds of the start of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon with all our satellite capabilities in the men's lead truck. Catherine.
You know, I have to make a comment about this start. You know, always people are excited and go out very quickly, but I'm very happy to see on the far left a Masters runner, Mario Cuevas. He's about 42 years of age, and on the far right, a woman, right with the leading men. And I believe that's Florence Wangechi, who is the first ever Kenyan woman to come here and run the Boston Marathon.
Early identification always interesting at this part of the race when they are very much in a pack. The favorite, almost to a man, of this 95th running of the Boston Marathon, Douglas Wakahori, is wearing number 3, and we'll attempt to identify him as soon as that's possible. Obviously, we will not be seeing him from this particular shot because those runners are still getting across the starting line, and we'll be spending the next 4 or 5 minutes getting across the starting line with the pack of 9,000 or so. Joan Benoit Sanderson, of course, who holds this Boston course record for women, now talks about the first few miles of the race and how fast it is for her in her experience.
Oh, it's either all tough or it's all easy. It depends upon the year. But I think the toughest part is just not going out too fast because with the adrenaline stirred up and ready to go and with the slight downhill at the beginning, it's hard to really hold back.
As we watch the pack still coming across the starting line, as Joan mentioned, it is hard to hold back at this point because of the adrenaline and the plans and the strategy. And really, Greg Meyer, if any time is to be made up, you don't make it up at the end of the race, it's here.
Well, this is where you want to get out and actually get your rhythm and get going. You don't want to be so slow here, overly cautious, that you don't take advantage of this course because you can make up time on the beginning of the course. But a lot of the early leaders lose so much time in the second half simply because they run this first part too fast.
Osmero Silva. We're going to identify now the runners at the beginning. The runner in the orange singlet all the way to the left of your screen, right above our live 4 marathon coverage pylon, is Mr. Silva. Tell me about him, Frank Shorter.
Well, he's run 13 marathons, I think, in the last year, and he's run them all well. I watched him in Moscow last August where he finished second, but he came from the back of the pack there. I think he doesn't know the pace here. This is his first time, I think, in Boston, and I think he's just a little too excited.
Greg? If you look right behind him, you can see Hussein in about 3rd or 4th place, and right behind him is Ikanga. If Hussein and Ikanga decide to move up with Silva and push the pace early, you could get into another bloodbath like you had last year.
Identify Hussein here, please.
Hussein would be in the green. I can't really make, he's like 3rd or 4th, right in.
It's on to the left. There,
Just to the left.
In the
just
green
tucked
shorts
in.
and the green and white singlet.
Juma would be in the orange shorts,
Okay,
just
so
as Silva in 4th. If those two move up and start to press the pace, the rest of the field will have to react to them. They would gamble that Silva wouldn't stay out there alone. But if 2 or 3 go, they've all got to go.
All right, so Hussein and Juma, it looks like they never left the course from when they back and had that dramatic finish a couple of years ago. This is the same position they were in.
Something very interesting is happening here. I think the first mile is somewhere around 5 minutes. Last year, they were under 4 minutes and 30 seconds for their first mile. They are literally jogging. This is a tactical race right in the first mile. Greg?
I think so. Just by the way it's all packed up, usually it's strung out. You don't see so many unfamiliar faces up there right in the front.
They are literally jogging for Boston.
4:57 on that first mile is walking.
Well, we had mentioned that the Silva was in front, but then another runner appeared to the right of our screen, number 21, and that's Jean-Michel Charbonnel.
They are trying to hold back here. It's almost as if Hussein, who's in the middle, number 2, is holding back so as not to run up on anyone's back. This is just like a European track race in the mile where they all just crawl for the first 3 quarters and then sprint. This is very unusual for this race.
This is the strategy, though, that Frank talked about, is the rest of the field is reacting to Rocky Hurry because of what he does in the second half of the race. So everybody feels that they have to, save everything for the second half.
And he's not even in sight here. You can't even see him.
No, he's stuck back in the pack, but I still think somewhere along the line, a few of these guys will get antsy and break out. It may be at 3 miles, it may be at 5 miles, but you'll see a sudden shift in gears.
Well, of course, Catherine, at this point, we have talked about and promoted the fact that this may be the closest women's race in the history of the Boston Marathon, certainly the most competitive in the 20 years that women have had official numbers. Yet at this point, obviously, we will not be seeing the women. They will be coming into play a little later on down the race course, and we'll have a chance to follow them very closely.
Well, I wouldn't be sure, Bob. I think right there on the left in the green shorts and the green and white singlet, if you look like right at the crest of that little hill right there on the left, I think that's Florence from Kenya. And she obviously made a very fast start, but as Frank said, this is a very slow start for the men, so it's not out of the question for a woman to actually have a very fast start here, too. Looking at the other men, we see the favorites beginning to kind of glam up there in the front. There's Juma, number 1, and right behind him, number 13, in the blue shorts, white singlet. That's John Tracy, favorite from around here.
So, Greg Meyer, you're sitting here, but I know your heart is out there.
It sort of gives you goosebumps to watch this thing again. But I think the early leaders, the game plan for a few of them, like Mekinen and the Ethiopians, they wanted to be 15 minutes at 5K, which is 4:50 pace going out there. They're a little bit slower than that. I'm surprised. I don't think it will last long. I think they'll get to like a 3-kilometer split or a 5-kilometer split, and they'll realize they're off their game plan. If they want to beat Rocky Hurry, they're going to have to do some changing.
Rocky Hurry is there. We'll be back with more of our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. It's now gathering up all the stuff that was left there by a lot of these runners, and will be transported back. After 2.24 miles, and the men's mile mark 9:59 is the time after 2 miles. Frank?
Once again, they are just all running along, waiting for someone to do something, and I still think, along with Greg, that person is Rocky Hurry. You can't see him, but don't worry, he is there. He's just in the back of the pack, peeking through, just watching. 10 minutes is, again, a very slow pace for this race, which means everyone has decided no one wants that bonus money for the record. They would rather just try for the win.
One person to watch in this, if it turns into what they would call a tactical race, would be John Tracy. John Tracy is probably the most experienced track runner of the group. Has good leg speed, over 5,000 and 10,000 meters, And this will help him, I think, in the second half of the race.
Something that's very significant here, too, is the person on the far right, number 4, Simon Nolly, was the one who really took it out fast last year. He learned his lesson. He's in the back of the pack now.
We have a chance, I'm told, to go to the women's lead truck and pick up, there she is, Joan Benoit. She is the lead woman at the moment.
But look who's on her left is Ingrid Christensen, and look who's on her left is Wanda Panfil in the red. So Wanda Panfil from Poland is in the red, Ingrid Christensen in the blue singlet with the white t-shirt, and Joni Benoit Samuelson on the right, all three of them together. Now where is Uda Kippig? That's the next question. She should be right off that pace if she's not with them. But obviously Joni feeling good and going out with it. I don't have a split time here for you, but certainly Ingrid Christensen is known to go out fairly fast. And the question is today is whether she's going to go out too fast. And she said no, she's going to run a different race and hold back, and so that gives an opportunity for the others.
That's very unusual to see three women side by side out there. Usually what they like to do, at least has been the pattern, is to sort of get in their own space and run the race almost hidden from one another. This makes for a great race.
One of the problems with that, Greg, is that sometimes you lose that very important contact with the other women, and sometimes people getting close to you and you can't quite find the lead. So I think women have decided, like as of New York this year, that it was advantageous to them to try to stay together.
Tony's pulling back a little bit in this particular downhill thing.
Yeah, I think they're on a slight downhill, and you can see Ingrid try to relax, dropping her arms. That's what you do when you're just trying to loosen up your body and stay relaxed. I think Joan, it's not that she can't stay with him. She's just decided to let them get a little bit ahead because her sense of pace is telling her, well, back off a little bit at this point.
What kind of a conflict is that when you see the others go out and you know inside that that's not the right thing for you, yet consciously you say, well, maybe I should kind of keep up with them?
Well, you don't consciously say that, you really work on it mentally, like Jorinda Bourdin did last year. He said it broke his heart, but he let him go, and then he just said, I had to trust.
At this point in the marathon, as long as she doesn't let them get more than about 10 or 15 meters ahead, she can always pick her spot to get back with them. So it's more like a feeling out, and she's really watching them. Joni is watching them, just watching their shoulders and legs, trying to determine herself just how comfortable they are. And I'll bet you Joni could tell you which of those two women at this point looks better to her. And I would say that Ingrid's dropping her hands an awful lot here. I don't think you do that much, even at this point in the race.
I think what Ingrid's probably trying to do, she got beat up a little bit on the course the last time she won here. And I think she's trying to stay as relaxed as possible early on the downhill to try to save her legs. But sometimes that becomes too much. There's too much thinking going on out there about trying to relax. And you're just not doing what you normally do, which is race. Panfil is just there stalking her. And I bet she sits there for as long as she can just to drive her nuts.
Absolutely. You want to be just out of sight. You can see where she's staying, just behind, out of the field of vision, so that Ingrid, in order to see her, has to really look around and break up her stride. And you never know where that person is because there are all these other runners around. Usually you can hear the footfall, so you know they're there if it's only two people. But here, Ingrid doesn't know whether it's a man or a woman who's right behind her.
Another important thing about Wanda Panfil, a woman in the red who won the New York City Marathon this year and also won London last year, she has been training very hard not to go too soon. She also likes to run from the front. And her husband and coach, Mauricio Gonzalez, who is a top 10,000-meter runner from Mexico, has been coaching her to try to wait till halfway. So I think what she's going to do is just stalk Christensen.
You still see Joni right back there in the green singlet coming into frame right now. It's important we pick that up, but we go right back to the men's truck as they come into Ashland. Our men's leader, Jean-Michel Charbonnel, at the mile mark 3.18, mile mark 3. There's the time from our Spotters Network with that information. And let's go to our men's lead truck with Tim Kilduff. Tim.
Bob, everyone is really running with a great deal of control here. You remember last year when Mary burst out and so forth. Hussein really is working hard, but not running away. They're talking to each other now, jumping. As a matter of fact, Hussein picked up someone else's water bottle, drifted back a little bit, handed it off to the appropriate person, and then jumped back into the lead here. But you're talking with some interest in Dr. Hayes. He's running about, I'd say, between 15th and 20th in his top 26 people at this point.
All right, Tim, thank you very much for that update. From the men's lead truck, we have our women's mile mark coming up as we look at Ingrid Christensen, Wanda Panfil, and Joan Benoit, who is sitting right behind Ingrid on her left side. Wanda Penfield is right behind her. On her right side, as Ingrid tosses the water bottle off. Mile mark 3 is 15.45 seconds.
So a world record pace. It's a 2:17 marathon pace. Now, we shouldn't call it a world record. We know the first part of Boston is downhill, and it's very fast. The fact is that it is still the 2-hour 17-minute marathon pace.
What amazes me about Wanda is her shoulders. Look at how strong she is. That's going to help her through the hills.
You picked her to win this race, so no wonder you're...
Well, hey, I'm biased, I'll admit it, but, you know, that kind of strength in the upper body helps you when you get tired. You can drive your legs with your arms.
I think what we're seeing here is an example of one person in front, Ingrid, flowing and letting the hill carry her forward, and Wanda Penfield and Joan Benoit Samuelson, on the other hand, actually trying to hold back, and that's why they're kind of acting like an accordion here and stretching out. Now they're going up a little hill, and they may just get back together. But I think here it's an indication of what's going on in the different minds. Ingrid really does want to be in the front. She's having the most trouble controlling herself here, and Joni is looking just fine right now along with Penfield.
You saw that man jump out alongside and run alongside of Ingrid Christensen. That was Johan Kogstad, who has been her coach for many, many years. He also is the coach of Greta Veit. And Ingrid's husband, Arte, and her coach and her agent O'Hara positioned themselves along the course and have arranged the cars to leapfrog and catch her all along the way and advise her.
Frank, I don't think I've ever seen anybody just drop their arms that much in the first part of the race. Maybe she's got a stiff neck or a tight shoulder. I don't know, but I've never seen anybody do that much. Late in the race, people shake their arms out, but never that early, that often.
But she's running. It looks like she's running very comfortably, actually.
She goes again.
And she's dropping it and dropping it. I think she may have some little pull or some muscle or something that just refuses to loosen up, and it's a little crick in her neck or something like that, maybe with the cold. I don't think it's a factor at this point, but as you know, it will be later on, because the more she has to do that, the more it's interrupting her rhythm, and that really comes back later on in terms of tightening up. You have to stay relaxed and fluid for as long as you can in this race, and at a certain point, this will start to hurt her.
We do have some preliminary wheelchair leaders. Jean Driscoll is leading the women's wheelchair competitors, and Jim Knobb is leading the men's wheelchair competitors at this particular time. So we pass that team on the wheelchair competitors and a switch to the men's leader. And continuing to lead, Osmero Silva in the orange singlet right in front, with all the other favorites there, the 4-mile mark time that you just saw. We'll be back with our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. All right, welcome back to our continuing coverage. You're looking at Joan Benoit in the green singlet. She's running side by side with Ingrid Christensen, rival and friend. Wanda Penfield in the pink or orange, if you will, depending on the color adjustment of your set, is right behind Ingrid Christensen on her right, and her 4-mile mark is 20 minutes and 58 seconds.
And that's still a 2:17 marathon pace. Of course, this is downhill. But then now we have to consider, is this going to be the day that they're going to break the 2:20 barrier? This is a...
What do you think?
No, I don't think it is going to be the day we're going to break the 2:20 barrier.
Let's send out the speculation.
We've been talking about that for 6 years. That is the 4-minute mile of women's marathon running, and these women have wanted to do it for a long time. Christensen said, I'd like to do that before I retire.
Can I just have a personal note of how good it is to see Joan Benoit out here running this race? I'm telling you, it is like a comfort zone to see her running in this race.
Psychologically, do you think Ingrid and Wanda are looking over and go, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why is she here? Is she that fit? I mean, Joni's reputation as a vicious competitor, it would scare me if I looked over and saw her.
I'll tell you what, you really have to look at Joni's times for the last year. I mean, she had a baby a year ago. She got back into shape very, very quickly. I ran with her in the Cascade Runoff in the middle of June last year, and she ran close to her world record time that she did 5 years before that. So she's doing times, as she said, that she did in the early 1980s, which would mean 2:22 pounds of marathon pace. She says for the first time, so in 3.5 years, she's back doing speed work on the track and feeling good. If her biomechanics hold together, she says, she could run very, very well.
Well, she's got 22 long miles to go here, but if she should ever pull this one out, it would be one of the greatest things that ever happened in the Boston Marathon.
Well, she's really happy not to have the pressure on her.
No
That
question.
helps.
She's in a very good position because she can literally, as she's doing right now, sit back and watch. And what she's trying to do is really a track technique. She's allowing Ingrid to surge and get away, and then when Ingrid backs off a little bit on the next hill, Joni maintains her momentum and closes that gap, and it's a very subtle way of conserving your energy. The other thing that's very apparent to me here is they're all on world record pace, and all three of these women have said, we're going to hammer on each other until somebody wins.
You know what? Seeing her out here is like watching Larry Bird back in the Pro Health Celtics. That's what it is for me.
Just for people who don't know, Joan Benoit Samuelson, of course, had her first child 3.5 years ago. She had a hard time recovering from that, came back and then had a series of misadventures and injuries, and then had her second child, Anders, just last year.
All right, let's go back to the men's lead truck right now. Frank.
This is Juma Ikanga in the lead, number 1, Ibrahim Hussein on his shoulder, 5-mile mark, 24:59, which means they are still running 5-minute pace. John Tracy, number 13, right in there, just nipped behind him. And the only American in that front group, that's Ed Eyestone, number 14 behind. They are simply watching each other. Well, they are out for a stroll.
He is the tall runner behind, tall, relatively speaking, to the other runners, number 14. Greg, you mentioned that runners here, elite runners, think number 14 is the lucky number.
In the old Greater Boston Track Club, and Bill Rogers, Randy Thomas, Bobby Hobbs, whoever got number 14, and those guys used to request it. They always knew the guy would have a good race. He may not win, but they would perform well.
When you ran in '83, what number did you have?
3. As Bill Rogers had 3 the first time he won, Rocky Hurry has 3 today.
And where is Rocky Hurry? What's interesting to me watching this picture here is that Rocky Hurry is positioned the same way Seiko from Japan, the great Seiko who won this race twice, in the back of the pack, invisible, not to be seen, and it's no coincidence because they have the same coach.
And we all know they're there. Women's truck 5-mile mark coming up. You're looking at Ingrid Christensen and Wanda Panfill. That's the way they've been for the last 20 minutes, side by side. Ingrid doing the same thing, Frank, with her arms.
And I'm watching for it too when Joan comes in here, when she finally gets gets that gap back and closes it, is how smooth she is from the waist down. Because what Joan has told me, her problem really was that when she had the baby, obviously when you have a baby, everything stretches out. And she said when everything went back together, it's almost as if it didn't slip back into the right groove. And that's been her trouble. She just can't get comfortable. So watch Joan when you see her again and see how comfortable she is.
Kind of an interesting little description there, Frank. But, that's kind of medical textbook. Anything to add to that, Catherine?
That's how she described it. She said, I stretched out, and then when everything came back together, it just didn't go back the same way.
All right, these people are running for tradition. They're running for glory. They're also running for money. Pretty big money, too. Now let's go right back to the men's video now that we're apprised of the tradition, the glory, and the money that they're running for, and we have a new leader right now.
Jorni Korkalainen from Finland, who is relatively unknown here. His best isn't in the 2:11, 2:10 range, but he has decided to take it out, and for him, at least at this point, 5-minute pace is not fast enough.
One of the coaches last night, Aino from Finland, of the Finnish team, was saying that he's the most ready to run of any Finn that's been here in years and years and years. And was predicting a high finish for him and was actually teasing that he was going to be in the top 5, and we were betting him no. But right now he's looking pretty strong. But everybody can look strong running a conservative pace.
But if I were a neophyte in this race, I would be following Rocky Hurry right now, just watching him and learning. I would not be out in the front of the pack.
Well, we have yet to see Mr. Douglas Wakahuri.
There he is, in the middle of the screen with the gloves.
With the gloves. White top, orange singlet.
Yes. Orange shorts. Orange shorts.
They're still all looking around. You see John Tracy turn around and look. He's wondering, where's Douglas? What's going on here?
And the other thing is this is a pack in confusion. I mean, usually they would be trying to run the tangent, right, Greg? And John Tracy on the left, he's doing it. He's taking the shortest line. Everybody else is just wandering all around here.
That was 6 miles in 30 minutes. They're still on 5-minute pace. They're just out. This is a training run for these guys right now.
You know, runner I'd like to talk quickly about, because once this pack breaks up, I'm not sure he's going to be there, with all due credit to him, and that's on the far left, number 53. That's Andy Ronan, and a lot of people around here know Andy. He's from Providence, Rhode Island. He does a lot of training with John Tracy, and in fact, it's John's brother who's his coach. And he had a debut 2:13 marathon, and so a lot of people thinking that he could do pretty well here, Greg.
They think he can break through the 2:10. He's an Irishman like John. He's over here, went to Providence College, and he's been aiming for this race for quite a while. And again, he's another one of those guys that was hoping the race would develop like this, which would allow him to be pulled in the pack for quite a while.
Portalina now dropping back. Juma Akonga, number 1. John Tracy, number 13.
I was wondering why John Tracy took the lead there, because usually he wouldn't do that. And what he was doing, he was positioning himself. You can see he's handing the bottle to his training partner. He was positioning himself for the water table. He's a smart, cagey runner. He just wanted to be sure that he was going to get his special water bottle, and you can see he's carrying it along. The other person I love to watch run is Ibrahim Hussein, number 2. He's so relaxed. Look at the difference between him and Akonga, number 1, behind him. Akonga seems to work with every step, and Hussein just seems to flow along.
Hussein has changed his training methods back to what he was doing when he won here a few years ago. 2 years ago, he went back to doing a lot of speed work, sprints, 100, 200. This year, he went back to long, slow runs on trails, building up his strength. This type of race could fit into his training methods because he's not going to be overly taxed by going too fast too soon.
Well, as far as these elite runners go, this race is 1/4 over.
One of the most interesting things for me, as far as I'm concerned about this, is that Douglas Wakihuri is controlling the pace, and he's doing it in the middle of the pack. In other words, usually somebody controls the pace, right from the front. But he is back to that pack in the front.
Actually, as Frank talked about earlier, about having the favorite controlling the things here, Seiko, when he came here, did the same thing, controlled it from the back. Everybody's looking around running, what's this guy going to do? Where is he? And psychologically, that's such an advantage to Wakihuri because when he makes his move, everybody will, oh no, here it comes. And so many of them are going to pull just because they can't take the pressure, not because it's physically exhausting.
May I point out quickly that Johnny Kelly is 3.1 miles into this race and is running a 10-minute mile clip. Not bad for 83 years old.
Not bad at all.
Now this front pack is beginning to break away a little bit, so what we want to look for now is whether or not Douglas Wakihuri, if he sees them start to get out ahead, whether he'll make a little leapfrog, a little jump, and get at the back of this pack. This is what we watch for now.
I think they're starting to run now, but also at this point in the race, they've been running a little over a half hour. Psychologically, even though they're running slow, some guys want no part of the front. It's like they just can't handle that kind of pressure to be up there. They're wondering, what am I doing here? And they start to drop back.
We'll continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. Greg Meyer, Frank Schroeder, Captain Switzer. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Here we go.
Did you see, you want to talk about that? You know what he was doing.
Just looking around asking, where is he? What's going on? Why is he back there? I can't figure out running.
Now, who are you talking about? Let's go right to the truck now to Tim Kilduff. Tim.
Right in downtown Framingham Center, there was a little break in here. There's a pack of 12 runners up front. You see a single runner behind them, but then that second big pack with Wakihuri clearly in control. One of the interesting things that I've been able to see the last few miles is what Mekkinen's been doing. Every time one right people gets behind. So if Wakihuri is playing a cat and mouse game, so is Mekkinen.
Okay, we have a shot for just a moment of Joan Benoit from the other truck. And now we go back to the men's lead truck.
And something very interesting happened. John Tracy dropped back to this first pack of 11 along with Ed Eyestone, and he was seeing who was in this pack. He wanted to know. Everybody was there, and he turned around and looked at the second pack. He wanted to know where Wakihuri was, and then he and Eyestone said something to each other.
There's
so that's what's
Wakihuri
going
right
on. Number 3 in the middle, and he's the one still controlling the race.
Vera, Mekkinen, they're all keying off Douglas. They're all looking at him going, all right, we're gonna sort of hitch our horse to his wagon.
Men on the left, women in full frame right now. Ingrid Christensen, Wanda Penfield, and as Tim Kilduff is on our men's lead truck, Jeannie Blake is on our women's lead truck. Jeannie?
Bob, hi. We're just have left Birmingham, and the women, as you can see, Wanda, it's so amazing. It looks like their shoulders are about 6 inches apart. Joni is now I'd say about 20 feet behind those two women. They're running in really just a tight pack of people here, as you can see, back here.
All right, as we focus in on Joni Benoit, she looks strong, she looks determined. and it's great to see her running.
She looks very smooth. Now contrast that with, if you can remember, the earlier picture of Ingrid Christensen. Frank and I were just talking about that, how tight Ingrid looked up on her shoulders. But you know, Frank, she really always has run like that, particularly on the track. She really hunches in. But Joni here looking smooth as glass. You know, you have to keep looking at her hips. You wonder if she's going to have that biomechanical problem. You hate to talk about it because you don't want to wish it on her. But she's running very smooth here and just playing off them. Now, what's also interesting, where are Kim Jones? Where are Uta Pippin? Where are the other women? They must be well behind Joan, and they must be deciding to let them go out and see what happens.
Let me ask you this. How intrusive is the media coverage in cameras on a truck like this? I mean, usually when you're out there and you're thinking within yourself, and I guess, Greg, you're the product of the media age marathon running, and you're out there, you're alone, you're trying to be alone, you know there's people around, but the intrusiveness of the photographers and the television cameras.
These days it's not bad. These are experienced drivers. They stay away from in the old days.
Well, isn't Joni thinking about this as we watch it? Doesn't she know there's a camera sitting off her left shoulder?
Not if you're focused. When you're focused, I mean, I've run right past my wife before screaming at me and never seen her.
Well, I've done that 100 times.
Well, I know that. No, you really don't. If you're focused, if something's going wrong with you, if you want to be agitated, if you're looking for an excuse, the camera can be an added excuse. Having a good day, and if you're running well, you don't even know they're there. It's only if they make a mistake. They have experienced drivers that are using natural gas in the cars.
I'm looking very closely at Joan, and I think it's her right hip that gives her trouble. And to me, it seems, and I want her to win. I want Joni to win, but it seems to me that her right hip is a little lower than her left. Her right shoulder is a little bit lower than her left, and the straight line across her waist seems to be down. It almost seems like she's leaning a little bit more to the right than she normally does.
All right, well, throughout their great careers, Ingrid Christensen and Joan Benoit Samuelson have dominated the women's marathon. They hold the two fastest times in history as we look at it. Once again, they are battling each other in today's race. 1989, while Ingrid Christensen Boston Marathon title, Joan Benoit Samuelson struggled to a ninth-place finish. Racked with injuries, the usually stoic Joan fought back tears when talking about her performance that day.
You know, I didn't have the day I really wanted, but that's not to take away from the fine performances of the other people. And I was duly humbled, and I will be back. I was disappointed in '89, and I knew I wouldn't end my marathoning career on that run, and nor do I expect to end my marathoning career on this race, but I'd sure like to have an improved effort over 1989's race.
Oh, you're so busy.
Now the mother of two young children, Joni has trained hard over the hilly roads near her Freeport, Maine home. She is now at the point where she hopes to run as well as she did back in the 80s when she was the queen of the roads.
I think I'm still capable of running personal records, not necessarily at the marathon, although I'd like to think so because 2:20 is still out there. But, you know, half marathon times and 10-mile times, I think I'm capable of running personal best. I'd like to say that I'm having fun in my career now. I'm challenging myself.
Christensen's last marathon was back in 1989 when she won in New York. She took time off to have a baby, and now she is itching to get back into action.
I've been away from the racing, so I'm very hungry to race now, and I have been training good for the last 8 months, and I know I'm in good shape, but I'm not sure I'm in great shape.
Ingrid and Joan are close friends, as they have had many of the same interests away from racing. But when the gun goes off, they put their friendship aside.
Ingrid's a wonderful person. I just think the world of her, and I think you would call us close friends. I mean, whenever you toe the line, you're competitors. We are good friends outside the competition, but of course, when you're competing, everybody wants to be the first in the finish line. So then during the race, we're not good friends.
We go right back to the women's truck. There's Ingrid Christensen. We just heard from her. Wanda Penfield, FT is her number, and she's running alongside, although she looks like Joan Benoit, who has closed the gap and is side by side with her friend and competitor, Jean Blake, on the women's lead track.
She's moving about, as I said a few minutes ago, she was about 20 feet behind, and all of a sudden she put out a big push, and now as you can see, all three women are very close. I'd say that Wanda's about 1 step behind Ingrid, and then Joan's right there about 2 steps behind. And she's even closing the gap more, as I can see. Just inch by inch, she's coming up.
All right, Jeannie, thank you very much. Greg, this is what I was going to say. She's not dropping her arms anymore. She dropped her arms.
That's what I was going to ask Jean. Does she notice a tightness that we can't see in Ingrid, up in her shoulders and into her neck? I mean, is she running a little funny or looking or doing something that just doesn't seem right?
Well, I think what you see is what she sees, and it's just a matter of her perspective. We'll go back to her in a few minutes, but there's our three women right there, side by side, shoulder to shoulder.
And the pace is slowed a bit. They just did 8 miles in 42:37, so that's a 2:20:43 pace. So it looks like they're getting a little more conservative off the world record pace now, slower, but looks like it's going to work out and be a strategic race.
I want to throw in a couple of more pieces of information. Johnny Kelly's after 4 miles now. He's still a little over 10 minutes a mile pace, and is doing quite well in this is 60th marathon. Jim Knab is winning the wheelchairs men's division as he has built himself a little over a minute lead. So we're back to the women's lead truck, and we're going to go take a break at the moment. And as we watch Joan Benoit on the right, Ingrid Christensen center, Wanda Pankow left. Where's Uta Pippin? Nowhere to be seen as we watch the three top women. We'll be back with more of the coverage of the Boston Marathon right after this break. Coming to Natick in the 9-mile mark. Welcome you back to our Diet Pepsi leaderboard, the men's leaders. That's Jean-Michel Charbonnel, number 21, Juma Akanga, and Ibrahim Hussein, the top three, but don't draw any conclusions from that because this race is a long way from ending. As you can see, these are the men's leaders. There is no one that is about to break out or make any kind of definitive statement.
Jean-Michel Charbonnel's adrenaline level must be up over his ears right now. Here he is leading the Boston Marathon. I don't think he ever thought he would be in this position.
They're 3 minutes slower, over 3 minutes slower than they were last year at the same point in much better weather conditions.
Charbonnel, Ibrahim Hussein, side by side right there. And, of course, as they go through Natick, hometown of Doug Flutie. There's another Doug in this race, Douglas Wakahuri, who is back in that pack and close at hand. As everybody has said so far, he is the one setting the pace, but he is not in the lead.
But that's what makes this kind of race fun. Now we're going to sit back, wait, and wait to see who makes that first move. And when it comes, it's going to be a biggie.
Let's not talk about who's going to win, but who's going to make the first big move of this thing? Never mind, I think Akanga may be doing it now.
Akanga really is impatient. I'm amazed that he's been as relaxed and patient as he has. He really never runs this way, so he must have learned something from his other races here. He'll get out and push it a little bit, but that's because they're running 5:03 and 5:04 a mile, so he's not really trying to speed it up that much. It's almost as if he's going too slow. He can't be relaxed.
And back to the women's lead truck at the 9-mile mark, also coming into Natick at the pond before we get to Natick. 48:05, Ingrid Christensen and Wanda Pankow, step for step, stride for stride. And the pattern of this race has been that Joan Benoit has been back off of Christensen's left shoulder, and as she is out of the frame at the moment, so if we have a chance to swing back, perhaps we'll be able to pick her up. There she is, not far off the pace, just hanging in there as well.
The last mile was run in 5:28, so they just passed 9 miles in 48:05. Still about a 2:19 marathon pace.
Here comes Joni now.
Catherine, does that create a problem where there's so many men around following Ingrid and Wanda that she can't tuck in all the time and get in there? Other people get in the way, so does that interfere with her race plans to be right there, sort of being a sort of psychological burden to us too?
You know, there are two opinions about this, Greg. I always thought it was better for women to run alone so they have a chance to tuck in, strategize, or emotionally have contact with each other, and like the top men do. And when they're mixed up like this, a lot of other women feel that it's advantageous, though, that the men sort of take the pacing and they don't have to worry.
So what would you want to do? Have a separate women's start?
Well, I think it is a good thing, yes, because women can sort themselves out a little bit and pace off each other. But here, clearly, they're fairly close already. This is the first time I've ever seen in a major competition, a mixed major competition, the women this close.
One of the other great historic racing teams of recent years in the Boston Marathon, the Hoyt family, Richard and Dick Hoyt, they have passed, let's see, mile 10, I believe. Not quite, but almost.
I think we have a little bit of a move going on in the men's race, which we're not watching at this point. We're watching the women go past the 15-kilometer point, which is just over 9 miles. But in the men's race, I think Hussein is starting to get a little impatient. He's beginning to push the pace a little bit. That was 10 miles. I think what you saw was 10 miles in about 50 minutes and 25 seconds. So they ran, I think, about 5:10 for that mile, which would mean he really is feeling, I'm not comfortable running this slow. I feel better if I go a little bit faster. He hasn't made a break. He's just decided the pace should be a little quicker.
One of the things about Hussein coming in was his plan was to actually be much faster than this. He wanted to be down around 48 to 48:30 for 10 miles. Now he's much slower than that, and they thought they were going to be under control at that pace based on what happened last year. I think he's got to be starting to feel a little bit antsy.
But at this pace, they're running 2:12 for the marathon, just about, and really that's so much within the capabilities of all of these runners. It really is turning more into a track race than a marathon race.
Now let's go to the truck right now, the men's truck where Tim Kilduff has this report. Tim?
Frank, we just talked about the impatience here, and it is beginning to show. About half a mile back, he kind of tried to make a little move up front, but he's saying he asserted himself. And he's been looking back and really now beginning to let that impatience show a little bit. There's a break of about 20 yards between this first pack and the second pack, and you might guess who's leading that one.
Remember, Douglas Wakahuri is wearing the white gloves and is in the lead of that second pack. Frank?
I'm getting a feeling that maybe at halfway, maybe somebody has in their mind when we get literally to halfway in this race, I'm going to take off. I think that may be what's happening, especially maybe with Wakahuri, because he's allowing himself to get 20 meters back, and his psychology could be, well, I'm going at halfway anyway. And here's Joan.
Joan is pushed into the lead momentarily over Ingrid Christensen and Wanda Penfield as they have swapped places. Jeannie Blake on the women's truck. Jeannie?
Bob, hi. Joni has pulled out about a step ahead, as you can see there, but I just want to comment. I think that Wanda is looking, you see the expression on her face has changed quite dramatically in the last couple of minutes. Whether that just is, because I'm not a marathoner, maybe I don't know what to look for. There's a she looks tired.
All right, Jean, Kathleen Switzer, Jeannie says Wanda looks to be straining.
Well, this has got to be incredible right now. I mean, she's got to be wondering, what in the world is Joan Benoit Samuelson doing? This is 10 miles now. Now we're getting very serious, and Joan is now pushing the pace here. They're thinking, it's been a year, we haven't seen her run a marathon since 1989. She's been posting some pretty good times. She was a near starter. Joan Benoit Samuelson was a near starter in the New York City Marathon. She pulled out just days before, and that's a race that Wanda Penfield won. Joni had to pull out because of these biomechanical problems. Now she says they're straightened out. Now she says she's back on the track working hard. So she's an unknown factor. And she's got to be very worried right now. Christensen's got to be wondering, too. You have to wonder, both of these women having had children in the last year, there's this sense among some women runners that having a child makes you a better runner. Whether it's the hormones or the time away from running that makes you hungry to come back to it, you don't know. But the point is that Joan Benoit Samuelson is having a great race so far right here.
Psychologically, if Joni gets a little bit of a lead and starts to sort of get this feeling of confidence, I mean, she still may not win, but she could wreak all kinds of havoc on Ingrid and Wanda because she's going to start to feel confident in herself again. The longer she stays with this pack, or the longer she feels like she's got some kind of control here, the better chance she has of winning. I don't think she's hoping anymore. I think right now she's thinking, I've got a shot at this.
Well, also the second pack of women have got to be worried they're going to get so far away they're not going to catch up.
There we go, right back to the men's truck, and here we go. Let's identify these people. Ronan is across from left to right.
Jeff Smith in the middle, number 10.
In the middle, former champion here in Boston. Ibrahim Hussein, former champion here in Boston. Eddie Einstone is behind him. And we go right back to our stationary camera in Natick as the women are coming through. When we say the women, this is the trio. 1, 2, 3. The trio of Joan, Wanda, and Ingrid are running their own race right now as they come through Natick. And Joan has a slight, and I say slight, lead.
This is going to be fun.
Joni took the lead and started to press, and you saw Ingrid shift her position. She moved away from Wanda Penfield and moved on Joan's shoulder, in essence acknowledging Joan's setting the pace right now. I don't want to. I've got to settle in.
Okay, 53:39 for 10 miles. I mean, that's under world record pace. That's 2:20:43. And world record pace is 2:21:06. And Ingrid Christensen had that race in London in 1985.
That's a rather dramatic shot right there.
Very.
Three of the top women marathoners in the world, shoulder to shoulder, as Ingrid does the old shoulder move.
What's fun to watch about this is with Joni being in the race, it's not about Joni trying to come back and having a good race. Joni has said, I'm going to get back in the racing. Maybe she'll only last the 20, she might win it, but the point is she's made the commitment to race. It's not about going in and just trying to have a good one. She came in and said, I'm going to try to win. That's making a decision to come back.
You know, on March 24th, she ran a 15K in Cincinnati in 52:26. And she's 3 minutes faster.
Back to the men's mile mark at 11:55:28 from our exclusive Spotters Network. And we have no definitive leader, as you can tell, obviously from the lead men's pack. Douglas Wakahuri is back in the second pack. Again, we'll point out that he is wearing the white gloves, he is wearing orange shorts, and a white top, and you can see him right in the extreme left of your frame, having just gone out of it now.
These guys don't even look like they're sweating. I mean, I don't see beads of perspiration, their hair matted back.
Actually, Greg, you're sweating more than they are.
Well, it's warm in here, because my pit's way in the back.
Look at the guy in the middle of this pack. That's Navarro, who's a top Masters runner. I mean, so he's running with the leaders.
All right, we'll continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon, and obviously the drama is beginning to build. You can sense it both in the men's race and certainly in the women's race with Joan Benoit, Ingrid Christensen, and Wanda Penfield. All stride for stride. We'll be right back. We go right to the women's leaderboard, the Diet Pepsi women's leaderboard, and they're the same. Benoit, Christensen, and Penfield are side by side. You pick them right now. Penfield is running an extremely intelligent race, as Frank Shorter pointed out. She has not once stepped into the lead, but now appears to be, as Ingrid has stepped back a little bit, Penfield may be making some kind of a move here.
I think what's going on here, Bob, is that Joan stated before the race she wanted to run under 2 hours and 30 minutes. She wanted to run 2:29, so two things are going on. One is she wants to help the pace along so that no matter what happens, she can run under 2:30, but she and Ingrid are friends, and Ingrid said, well, you know, once the gun goes off, but during this kind of race, at this point, Joan can, in essence, say to Ingrid, okay, I've taken it for a while, now you take it for a while, and they can push the pace for time. I think that's what's happening here.
But boy, they're pushing it for time. I mean, it's still a world record pace. They slowed down a little bit. The previous mile was 5:38. The 11-mile split was 59:17, but they're still right around 2:20:45.
Showing you a little display there. She kind of wanted a little more breathing room.
A little bumping out there, which means
get out of my way.
You're focused. On the men's side, we've got a little bit of a break here with Simon Robert Nally going up front. He's the guy that took it out last year and helped drive that to a suicidal pace. He's been patient now. He's waited till almost 13 miles.
Well, 2 years ago, he took it out quick and finished sixth to the surprise of everyone. Last year, he burst out of the pack and had to drop out of the race, but this year, he's back out in front. Tim Kilduff on the men's lead truck.
About 200 to 300 yards before the 12-mile mark, Valley just sort of took a look around and looked a little disgusted, quite frankly, and put his head down and got now about a 10-yard lead over Hussein, who's got about a 10-yard lead over that pack, which is led by Atanga, who in turn has about a 20-yard lead over that bigger pack, and you know who's leading that one.
And you know who, Douglas Wakahuri, is now back up into the front pack. As you can see, again, we point out, I think that's him. I'm not sure. He is wearing the white gloves. Perhaps that's not. Perhaps he's still back there.
Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah.
He's back in that second pack. Wakahuri clearly is back in the second pack. But believe me when I say he's in control of that pack.
Did you notice just then how the pack accordion back up to the valley?
Now he's slowing down again. Hussein will let his momentum carrying by. He's not really trying to pass him. It's just that Nally has backed off. Once again, they've decided not to make the break a little too soon. Usually you'll make that kind of break, won't you, Greg? And you kind of turn around and see what the response is. And the response here was, well, Hussein went with me. Maybe I better back off a little.
Hussein just pulled up and looked at him and said something to him. They're talking a little bit. But I think these guys are going to start racing now.
Let me talk a bit about Wakahuri as the men go to Wellesley College. You mentioned that Wakahuri, like Seiko, was coached by the same man and has run the same kind of a strategic type of race.
I don't think Seiko would ever be that far back. Seiko would always be at the back of the lead pack, not at the front of the second pack. It's going to take an effort for him to break away to get up to that front pack. And that's the kind of thing that Seiko never did. He was always there. He was out of view, but he was always there. Simon Robert, the last time he raced Wakihuri was at the Commonwealth Games, coming off of another marathon in a short period of time. He stopped to get water. But what happened was he was tired and he ran a conservative race and ran Wakihuri very tough because he ran a conservative race. Right now, he's run a conservative race.
Oh, Hussein's making a little move here. You react when someone stops that way, and your instinct is to push hard. Your instinct is to say, okay, someone's giving me this little gap. I'm going to press it a little bit. Now we have to see if Hussein really goes. He's looking around. He's making his decision right now. He's saying, is this far enough ahead to really go for it?
He was also having some fun. He was plugging his ears, running by the women at Wellesley College. But look at how it started to get strung out. They're running. I mean, they're starting the race. It's just not one guy out there. There's a line of people now. That means they're moving.
He's actually jogging now. Look how his hands came up.
Yeah.
He slowed down. He literally decided to run more slowly. His hands come up. He's jogging, and very soon Nolly will just catch him.
We've checked the men. We checked the women. Joan Benoit just a couple of lengths in front of her two closest pursuers, Ingrid Christensen and Wanda Panfil, and incidentally Johnny Kelly, the 83-year-old Johnny Kelly, is after 6 miles, and we're halfway, just about halfway into this race for the elite marathon runners. Ibrahim Hussein, a former Boston champion who dueled Juma Akonga in the closest finish ever in the Boston Marathon, has taken the lead at Wellesley.
And as Joni pushes the pace here, they're on about a 2:21 ultimate finish marathon pace at this rate now, so they have slowed down a little bit, but we finally have word on Uda Pippi, who is in 4th place, and she is 38 seconds behind these women. That's a substantial distance behind, but even more is that 50 seconds further behind her, so a minute and a half behind this lead group is Kim Jones.
Jean Blake at the women's lead truck as Joni has opened up her widest lead, which isn't much to speak of, but she still is there. Jeannie?
Yes, she is, and actually it might be interesting to you that we are now on a very hilly part of the course. We've just come down a downgrade and are pushing up this hill, which seems to be about the steepest incline they've had. I saw Wanda a few minutes ago actually make a conscious decision to put herself over there on the other side of Ingrid, like she was going to settle in there for a while. You might notice that Ingrid keeps checking her watch. And I have not seen her drop her arms now. She was doing that earlier, as you made notice of, but she has not done that now for the last mile or two. So perhaps if she did have some kind of a stiff retention or tightness there, that has eased up a bit as the race has gone on.
All right, Jeannie, thank you very much. Frank?
Something may be happening here. Joan has got a little bit different expression on her face. She's starting to press. Wanda Panfil said, well, am I going to stay behind Ingrid? Started to push. They've got to close this gap now. I think Joni's very close to looking around, seeing 5 or 10 yards on these two women and taking off. But right now, Joni is running very well and within herself.
Well, she picked it up, Frank. She just ran that last mile in 5:26. Of course, it was a little more downhill. The pace still on about a 2:21.09 around in there. So they're really forcing it.
Ingrid could be gambling. She thought coming in here that she might run around 224, 225, and if she thinks that's good enough to win, she might just sort of stay the course and just hope that her time is going to be good enough. But this is out of character for Ingrid to not be up with the leader or not be in the lead.
Maybe it's out of character, but maybe she's giving it everything she has today, and it's not her day, it's not her race. But I think that the story of this race so far, without a doubt, is the race Joan Benoit Samuelson is running. That has been the story from start to finish right now.
You know what? She could drop out of the race right now and still a story. I mean, she's 3 minutes faster. She's 3 minutes faster than some of her best times over these distances.
She is fashioning the story of the day, and if she can keep it up, she will be. She, along with the other two, Wanda and Ingrid, are approaching Wellesley, as we saw the men go through a few minutes before. But right now, Joan Benoit Samuelson is today's marathon story.
One point about Joni, her history was that she could always close in the marathon. She was always tough enough that she could always bring it home no matter what the early pace was. But Ingrid doesn't have that history. She has a history of sometimes coming in a little bit slower, not being able to close quite so quickly.
Maybe a little premature to talk about closing. We're halfway into the race as we are in our fixed stationary camera in Wellesley for the women's race. To quickly update you on the men's side, Ibrahim Hussein is still in control, but only by about as much as Joan is leading her competitors. Ingrid and Wanda. As Ingrid now moves outside with a little more running room, but not able to close the gap, if indeed that is what she is actually attempting. It doesn't appear that she has any reason to, nor is trying to attempt it.
And 20K time, 1:07:10.
38 seconds behind for Pickard. Most of it seems insurmountable at times, but on this course, the way it can sort of brutalize your legs is not that much in the last few miles. If they slow 15 seconds a mile, which a lot of people do, it only takes a couple of miles and you're right back on them.
Well, you have to remember that 38 seconds behind for Rita Pickard means she's still running incredibly much her very best race. There she is. There's Rita Pickard, F1. That's the first time we've had a camera on her. She's in 4th place right now. This is the woman who walked over from East Germany and has had a dizzying year on the American road circuit and European circuit. Won Berlin.
It's like deja vu watching Joan Benoit Samuelson in front of the women's pack in this race. We have obviously had extensive video of her today, and we'll keep doing it because she is the story in the Boston Marathon. On the men's side, as we switch over to the men's lead truck, Salvador Garcia, Nali number 4, and Ibrahim Hussein all the way to the right.
They went through the half marathon in 1:05:56, which is about a 2:12 pace.
Tim Kilduff is on our men's lead truck. Go ahead, Tim.
Hussein, if he can have a good time at mile 13, he's having a good time. He ran through Wellesley College, and we had eye contact with him. He put his hands over his ears, complaining about the noise, and a big grin on his face. But about 100 or 200 yards back, he was in the lead. He motioned Garcia to get up there with him. So he's having a good time right now. Very relaxed.
Well, he is running very relaxed, and he may indeed be the conductor of this race right now, but there's a big instrument that's looming behind him, and Douglas Wakahuri, that he has to know is there, yet, Frank, I don't know. Wakahuri is just hanging there and not doing anything or saying anything or showing anything right now. We'll be back as we continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. Each year is different, and this, believe me, is no exception. As we come into focus once again, let's check the men's Dial Pepsi leaderboard. Hussein, Ronan, and Garcia are the 3 in the lead. Douglas Wakahuri, is this a myth? You guys have been touting this guy. Everybody says he's going to win, yet he has had precious little airtime on television this afternoon because he is in the back of the pack. When is he going to make his move? Is he going to make his move? Will we see him today?
Well, we barely saw him out of frame, just fade out of frame there. He is about 50 meters behind. Here's the women's race. Wanda Ponfield finally takes the lead, and this is significant. They're just about the halfway point. Maybe her plan was to get to halfway and then press the pace, because she has taken her first steps in the lead.
It was the plan, Frank. She and Mauricio Gonzalez had said that, look, 8 miles at the move in New York was too soon. We're going to do it at 13 in Boston. But the reality is that the halfway mark for the women, I mean the 13-mile mark, not the halfway mark, was 1:10:17. That winds up being a little slower, let's say 2:21, 2:22 marathon pace, which is still like 4 or 5 minutes faster than her best. Her best is 2:26. So she is really running the race of her life here.
Greg, how much ebb and flow goes on with these marathoners in terms of as they run the race and pace themselves? And is there a point where you feel good and then you lose it and come back, and that constant ebb and flow, is it there, or is it something that's just static?
No, it's there, and it's both physically and emotionally. You go through little ups and downs all the way. I just noticed Joni drop off a little bit and she fights back up. She doesn't want to let herself fall asleep. By not racing lots, sometimes you're not competitively sharp, but she's making herself, forcing herself to stay in contact, not daydreaming out there, and all of a sudden looking up and seeing that they're 15 yards up on her.
How tough is she? I mean, people talk about her mental discipline and her toughness.
Her physical therapist, Dan Dyrick.
Well, we'll get back to that in a second. Let's go to the men's truck. We have a story developing there. Tim Kilduff on the men's truck.
Jimmy Conga has dropped off now. He's at least 200 to 300 yards off the pace. We saw a little change in his stride. Began to limp just a little bit, but he's now way off the lead. He's out of this one.
All right, Tim Kilduff saying that Juma Conga is out of this one. He came into this race, as we told you, with a quadricep problem just before we went on the air. with the start of the marathon. The wheelchair is turning on the 1491 Boston Marathon, and we switch right back to the men's truck at mile 15.
You know, we haven't done a lot of talking about the man in the red there in the middle, the tall, blonde-headed man, Ed Eyestone. He's one of our premier American runners, and we've talked a lot about the dearth of top American racers. Frank Shorter. Can Ed Eyestone be one at 2:10:59 who's going to pull the Americans up?
Well, he's been the best performer in the marathon over the last couple of years. He ran very well in London, around 2 hours and 12 minutes, but he's never made that great big jump or breakthrough. Here, what will help him is he's also a very good 10,000-meter runner on the track. He can run well under 28 minutes or under 4:30 per mile pace on the track. So he can sprint, although Hussein may be just a little bit faster. International field out in front. Andy Ronan taking the lead. Ed Eyestone from the U.S. in second. Ronan's an Irishman. You've got Hussein from Kenya. Alejandro Cruz from Mexico. This is the Boston Marathon.
And Jim Knob getting his laurel wreath and his plaudits for winning this year's Boston Marathon in the wheelchair competition. As we look at the men's truck on the left, the award ceremony for the wheelchair on the right, as the men's pack is right there. Usually at this men's leaders again as we check their pack, and we hate to keep talking about a guy that you haven't seen, but Douglas Wakahuri is...
We're coming up to the steepest part of the course right now. This is the steepest downhill on the course, and this is where you really start to rip your legs apart. But I'm amazed that they're not running closer to this.
I'll tell you what, on the women's side, we have noticed that Ingrid Christensen has dropped back. You'll take a look at Joan Benoit, who was in the lead, Wanda Penfield, but Ingrid Christensen has dropped back away from the top three in a development on the women's side.
Well, definitely Wanda Penfield is taking the lead here. They just passed mile 14 and run 15:51, which translates to a 2:22:01 marathon. Previous mile here was 5:34. Christensen, yes, back off the pack. Joni really pushing Wanda Penfield. Wanda Penfield in the red on the left of the screen, F2. Wanda's from Poland. She lives in Mexico City with her husband, Mauricio Gonzalez, and she is very fast. She won the gold medal in the Goodwill Games 10,000 meters, so she's very fast as well as a good marathon.
Let's go out to Jeannie Blake on our women's lead truck right now. Jeannie?
Well, thanks. The course is really flattened out here, and as you commented correctly, Ingrid has dropped back. She dropped back and moved way over behind some of the other runners. To tell you what's going on out here, I mean, Joni is getting a lot of hometown support. You know, a lot of Joni's in the crowd, so I'm sure that's bolstering her energy and her spirit.
Thank you very much. As Big Meyer was talking about earlier, Joni Benoit and Larry Bird are shared physical therapists, and Dan Dyrek knows both of them very well.
He compares her to any of the great athletes you've ever seen come out of Boston. Larry Bird, any of them, her pain tolerance is so high. She is so mentally tough that she's one of the great athletes, men or women, anywhere.
Let me ask you this, Catherine. Is Christensen finished here?
Listen, I was just getting ready to say this. I would like to not call this till 18, but in my estimation, Christensen is not looking good at this moment. I mean, she's beginning to lose contact. She's got her head down. Look at her arms flailing up higher. This does not look good for her.
Let's say that Christensen right now is in trouble. Benoit and Penfield are in the lead. And we'll be back as our continuing coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon is Wire to Wire. We're glad you're with us. Stay there. You're looking at the men's side, and they're basically in the same position. Alejandro Cruz have made a slight move. On the women's side, there has been a dramatic change in the race, and Wanda Penfield has moved out in front of Joan Benoit Samuelson on the women's side, and there she is. Wanda Penfield is now in control of the women's race at this particular location.
Dropping a fast 5:30 mile, and just the break. Look how fast it was. There's Benoit way back there on the right. It was just unbelievable. It happened within 15 seconds, and it was so fast and very decisive. That's the way to do it when you're going to do it. So she has put away Christensen already and Joan Benoit Samuelson at the 16-mile mark.
Jean Blake is on our women's lead truck. Jean?
You know, I got to tell you about Wanda's running so fast that she's passed out. There she is. I got to tell you, she's looking really easy, really fluid, really smooth. And Joni looks like she's really having to push. I'd say if I had to guess, she's about 30 feet behind Wanda, and Ingrid is almost the exact same distance behind Joni. Bob?
All right, thank you very much. So Wanda Penfield has made her move. Ingrid Christensen had fallen back about 5 minutes earlier. and it was Wanda and Joni is now back in second place at the 16-mile mark. There's a lot of road to be run, but Wanda Penfield looks in total control right now of the women's race.
Well, she's just under a 2:22 marathon pace. This woman from Poland, as I say, trains and lives now in Mexico City. And she's been training not to move too soon. Obviously, it's paid off here, as well as the speed work. After her New York City Marathon win, which was preceded by a London Marathon win and a gold medal in the Goodwill Games 10,000 meters, she took 2 months off, took a break, went to Poland, stayed with her family, and then came back to Mexico and trained at altitude, even moved to higher altitude, moved to Toluca, Mexico, trained with Dionisio Cerrone and Mauricio Gonzalez, a lot of top names like that. And was going to go for a personal record here. Previous best is a 2:26. Now she's 4 minutes under that already. So let's see how she comes out at the finish.
One of the things, though, about Wanda, she's making her move on the downhill portion of the race, the very steepest. And it's sometimes easy to gain a lead on the downhill, but you can pay for that later on because your quads are taking a pretty good beating running down that steep part of the course.
Wanda Penfield on the right, the women's leader, the men's leader, Ibrahim Hussein on the left, but not by much.
And it's now a pack of 4. Ed Eyestone, number 14. Andy Ronan from Ireland, who lives in Providence, trains there. Looks like those are the men at this point, and boy, I'll tell you, Douglas Wakihuri may be making us all look bad here because he's not making a move, and as we know, you've got to make your move and at least be within sight when you get to the bottom of Heartbreak Hill.
We didn't see it earlier. Vera had made a big move going up over 128.
Now, which one's Vera?
Vera's number 7. But then Hussein came
on the right.
On the right. Hussein came back, went to the front, and pressed the pace. They're sort of taking turns now driving it. They know they've got a gap, so what they sense is this could be our opportunity. If we can get away from those guys back there, we might have a shot.
Okay, am I going to ask you this? Is the leader going to come from these 4? The winner going to come from the 4 here?
I still don't think so. I still don't think so. I still think you're going to see Wakihuri or one of the guys in that second pack do it.
Well, Johnny Kelly's 8 miles into the race. He's still got a shot. He's got over.
Well, in our defense, I have to say that that pack where Wakihuri is located is still only about 100 and 150 yards behind, which may be at most 20 seconds. And 20 seconds with Heartbreak Hill to go is not that much of a lead.
Where's McConan been today, Greg? He's taking a nap.
He's right behind Wakihuri. He's in his back pocket. He's following him. He thinks he can outrace him over the last 5 miles or 50 yards if need be.
And what's significant here is that Hussein is still looking over. These fellows have still not decided to work together and really try to break away. They're still looking around. They're still at certain points backing off. If I were in this front pack, and I would dearly love to be 20 years younger, obviously, and be in there, I would link up with someone and say, okay, you and me, let's go. We got to get away from him.
You know, what's also fascinating about this race is that behind who may not win this race, according to our experts here, there are 9,000 other rookies still pounding their way down the asphalt.
I just saw Andy reach down and rub his right quad a little bit. I wonder if he's not starting to feel it. This is about the time, you can tell.
We'll continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. Wanda Penfield getting control of the women's side. Joni Benoit's in second. Ingrid Christensen is third. And the men, well, no way of knowing right now which of these 4 or will it be more. We'll be right back. We're looking at Wanda Penfield of Poland, who is in the lead for the women's race. Joan Benoit is second in our Dial Pepsi women's leaderboard. Ingrid Christensen and Uta Pippig in 4th, 3rd, and 4th. And also in that picture right behind him is Dick Hoyt and Richard Hoyt. Always a welcome sight and always a crowd-pleasing sight for the Boston Marathon. Once again, the Hoyt's running and just passed by Wanda Penfield.
And when Richie Hoyt goes by BU, there's going to be this great roar because did you know he's a junior at Boston University? Fantastic accomplishment for that young man and his family.
And on the men's side, Eddie Eyestone has dropped off significantly. So we have Alejandro Cruz on the left. We have Ibrahim Hussein in the center. And we have Providence's Andy Ronan on the right. And we have Tim Kilduff on our men's truck at mile 18. Tim.
At the first hill, there were some changes here. Eddie Eyestone dropped off. In fact, John Tracy has now moved into 4th place. He's about 40 yards, 50 yards off the leaders, and you can see them in your camera. The path, which has Luckily in it, is now about 200 to 250 yards back. So there's been a little distance created here, but I'll tell you from where I sit, I watched them coming up this hill. Hussein just tucked behind these two guys and really let them pull him right through that first hill. So keep an eye on him.
So you're saying Hussein seems to be the guy to beat?
Right now, Bob, he looks very, very comfortable. Both Cruz and Ronan began to struggle a little bit. You can see the expression on their face begin to change.
But now you know what it's like coming up the hills of Newton and Heartbreak Hills, and the series of 4 that's there. The first one seems to be the toughest.
I always hated the first hill right after the firehouse, and Hussein came up that very relaxed. You can see Cruz looks like he's working, and Andy's sort of got that strained look on his face, but that sort of reminds me of Steve Jones of always looking strained. But I tell you, Hussein looks good, but Tracy moving up a little bit now. Again, he was patient through the whole thing. You never heard of him, but right now Hussein has run a very smart race.
Well, he has been there. He has won this race in '88. What does that count for in this particular point in the race?
If he can get to the top of Heartbreak Hill right by Boston College, and he can literally see the finish line going downhill, I do think it will be all over. And then maybe Greg Beyer and I will commit. But I still think that until we get to the top of the hill, you have to be very careful. But I would think that pretty soon Hussein should make a move, because when you're running along like this, you can sense now, in this point in the race, when you start to surge, you can really tell how other people are reacting. He should be making a couple little moves just to see what the reaction is, and if he feels it's there, he should take off, because he has to realize if he can have a minute at the top of Heartbreak, the race is his.
And Ibrahim is a master of that, Frank. He often says, I like to get just a little bit ahead and look back at their faces, or look at their hands or their arms. I like to read them, see how they're sweating, how they're breathing, how they're moving.
Our men's wheelchair winner, Jim Knab, our women's wheelchair winner, Jean Driscoll, and we have the women's lead truck, and Wanda Penfield moving full clean into your television set. Jean Blake is on the women's truck. Jean?
She's looking very strong. After that, Joni's probably fallen about 100 yards behind her. She's looking very strong and keeping up her pace.
All right, thank you very much, Jeannie Blake. Wanda Penfield has taken over this race, took it over about a mile and a half ago, 2 miles, as Christensen fell back. It was her and Joni, and that was it. And there you have a shot of Joan Benoit.
They're slightly under a 220, at least. Samantha Penfield's just a shade under a 222 marathon pace. It's about 221.50.
Talk about the psychology that Benoit has to overcome here, because Penfield has made her move and has almost lost touch with her.
You know, Bob, I don't think Joni has to overcome anything here. I think that she's accomplished so much already. And she came in here having no sense of pressure, and she's performed admirably already. I think that all she has to do is hang out.
But she also knows the course well enough to know that it is conceivable Wanda could have made her move too soon, that the hills will do their job, and she could come back if she maintains.
And here's another thing. Wanda Penfield is running 4 minutes faster than she's ever run if she continues at this pace. Joni has run this pace. Joni has run this 222.43 here at Boston. She still holds the record. She's running 221.21. So it was years ago, but she knows what it feels like.
So you're saying this is far from over?
I wouldn't say it's far from over. I think that Joni's going to run a good race, and I don't think Joni's going to catch Wanda though.
What counts here in terms of experience, especially in Boston, is running that hill from Boston College down to Penmore Square. You really never know if you have the kind of legs that can take the pounding. You never know until you run it, and that's where we'll find out. Greta Bites will never run this race again because of that hill. Here we have the men's leader, Andy Ronan, ahead. They're pressing. They've broken away from Cruz. It's a two-man race at this point.
Cruz is my dark horse pick. This young man in 1989 had one of the best marathon seasons in history.
All right, let's go back to Tim Kilduff on the men's lead truck. Tim?
Bob, you can see this for yourself, but they have broken away. Cruz has dropped off. Just a few 100 yards back. Ronan looked up at us and gave us a big wink. He's running very, very comfortably at this point. But I'll tell you, the guy right to his left looks just as comfortable. Tracy is running in first place. He's off the leaders about 50 yards at this point. I cannot see any longer because the road begins to bend. I cannot see that group with Wakilori at this point, so we are really out of vision of these guys.
All right, Timmy, thank you very much. Of course, Douglas Wakahuri is the phantom runner today because he has not made an appearance at mile 19. Greg?
They've increased their speed, I think, just doing a little quick calculating here, down to about 450 through the hills. They went through halfway at about 106, just under 106, and now they're at 135. They've really picked the tempo up.
Okay, there's the courthouse in Newton, as you well know, coming up through the Newton Hills. Hills 2, I think there are 2 more hills after that one. And we'll continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. Right after this, our 2 men's leaders. Will one be the winner? Come back and find out. Andy Ronan on the left, Ibrahim Hussein on the right. There are your men's leaders. Alejandro Cruz has dropped back to third. Johnny Kelly is passing the 9-mile mark, and Tim Kilduff is taking it all in on the men's lead truck.
We're getting set up for halfway through here. These 2 guys are running neck and neck, if you excuse the expression. Cruz is now backed off. My rough guess is that Tracy will move into 3rd place, probably as we get into halfway through. And again, let me emphasize that I can't see from this location, nor can the lead runners, that packed up further back with Rocky Horry and Mekinen. So I can't make a judgment at this point. But these 2 guys are running head-to-head. And I'll tell you, I don't see either one of them backing off right now.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. That seems to substantiate the pictures that we're getting. And they've been the quality pictures all afternoon long, I might add, from both the men's and women's truck. Our technical people doing an outstanding job this afternoon in providing the video of this 95th running of the Boston Marathon. So the question once again, I'll put to the panel, where is Doug? Where is Abid? Will these guys show up this afternoon?
Very soon it's going to be arithmetically impossible for Rocky Horry to win this. If he's a minute behind when they crest the hill, he will not win, and one of these 2 will. Andy Ronan looks very good. Even though he seems to be straining, he can maintain a certain smoothness, and Hussein is just such a smooth runner anyway. He's conserving energy. So I think the winner will come from these 2.
Okay, let me take it one step farther. Can Ronan beat Hussein? I mean, let's sprint. No.
Not even close.
So you're saying Hussein's going to win this race?
No, I'm saying Ronan will have to make a move and get away from Hussein, but he's not looking like he's going to fade now. I think that was 20 miles in just about 1 hour and 40 minutes even, so they're down around 5-minute pace. They've gone from running 2:12 for this race to 2:11 pace to run this race. So they've sped up, and since they're not slowing down and speeding up, I think you can say that one of these 2 guys will probably win the race, but don't count out John Tracy, who's just out of sight in back of him.
Aren't you basically, isn't this now basically a question of how long can Ronan stay with Hussein?
Or how long Hussein lets him stay.
So it's problematic. Hussein has Ronan in his pocket right now.
It would be
I'm just asking, Greg.
It would be easy to say that, but if Hussein felt that good and that comfortable, he's not too far away to make a move now and put more distance on the path. I mean, it's not too early. This is going between 20 and 21 miles. He can make a move now, and he's close enough to home. But boy, there's nobody back there that you can say.
There is no path to worry about.
I think they've got to worry about Tracy making a move up. That was the only guy before that Hussein was worried about when he won here a few years ago. It wasn't Ikanya on his shoulder because he knew he could outsprint him. But Tracy, the track runner, was the one that created a little bit of fear.
Are you surprised at the race that Andy Ronan's running here today?
Well, the word coming in was that Andy Ronan was looking to try to run around 2:10, 2:11. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's running according to plan. Everybody else came in here thinking, I've got to run Rocky Horry. He came in here thinking, I want to run 2:10. And that's what he's doing.
Ibrahim Hussein is no stranger to great finishes. He was involved in the closest finish in history in the Boston Marathon in 1988, beating Drew Makanga by 1 second.
And I think the point then to be made is since Hussein can be so confident in his speed, all he really needs to do is maintain a certain effort and tempo and wait for Ronan to drop back. He doesn't really have to surge and take the risk of maybe surging a little too hard. You're right, he has the distinct advantage because he knows he's faster. All Hussein has to think now is, why waste my effort to try to get a lead? I am simply going to be within 10 yards of this guy when we turn onto Boylston Street.
And that's all he needs.
That's all he needs to do. So he does have the advantage. But Ronan, he is just running the race of his life. He dreamed about doing this, and here he is. And that's what's so wonderful about this race, a high number 53 out in front.
I don't think Andy Ronan ever dreamed that him running his goal would put him in the lead at Heartbreak Hill. I mean, I think he's out there going, this is the greatest thing. This is beyond my wildest. His dream was to run like the 210, but to be leading running 210 pace is incredible for him. It's motivating.
As we come up the final and one of the most grueling parts of the Heartbreak Four Hills, the final to the top of Boston College and then down to Lake Street. That's where we are right now, coming up to the 21-mile mark. Tim Kilduff on the lead truck. Tim. Once again, let's throw it out to Tim Kilduff on the lead truck.
Bob, I don't know if you can hear me, but there's been a slight move here. Ronan is pulled ahead just slightly. Hussein still with Velasco, and Tracy and Cruz ever so slightly have closed the gap just a little bit. We're now beginning to reach the crest of the hill. No break here, Bob. No break.
It's so interesting in a different camera perspective. In one camera angle, you don't see anybody in back, and in the other camera angle stationary, you see Alejandro Cruz and John Tracy running third and fourth and interchanging those two positions. So you're right, Tracy is still in the hunt.
And if Tracy can sneak up on Ibrahim Hussein, and all of a sudden Hussein turns around and there's Tracy, that will be psychological impact. I think Hussein should look around a little bit and see who's there, because you can tell when Tracy's behind you. He's got a very distinctive running style, kind of shuffles along there, moves his arms out to the side, and Hussein knows what he looks like.
They're over the top of Heartbreak Hill now. The other thing is, John Tracy trains with Andy Ronan. They're friends, they're teammates from Ireland, but there's a pride involved. You don't like losing your friend. It's sort of a, well, I don't know what you'd call it, but there's a pecking order. And I think John Tracy's going, no, I can't let this young Irishman beat me. He'll take my place in the rankings.
And Douglas Wakihuri is just coming into frame, probably in about 10th or 11th place. He will not win this race, Bob. So he will not. He would be up there. If you remember Bourdin, when Bourdin made his move last year, he was always there coming up the hills. But these two men now are running in front, but John Tracy is maybe 30, 40 yards behind, and he's still in there.
Well, there's a unique picture this afternoon. Douglas Wakihuri has made television.
Must be a camera off the back.
And he's jogging. He's jogging to the finish.
Well, he came in here highly touted, and most people felt that he was the man to beat, and there wasn't much questioning that.
And Hussein has looked around, so he has probably seen John Tracy. 21 miles, you tend to do that at the mile points. You know what your pace is, and you give it a look and see. They were about 5:05 or so going up that last mile of Heartbreak Hill, so they really pushed it up. They pressed it out now, and now they can start moving down the hill. I think if Hussein looks around and he did indeed see John Tracy, he would probably try to make a move to get away from him.
Well, it looks like he's pushing it out a little bit.
He's stretching it out a little bit. I'll tell you, Andy Ronan is running one tough race because he's in new territory. He has never run this fast before. And he's out there with a veteran that has run 2 minutes faster.
All right, Wanda Panthil again on the women's side. She looks in control at the moment. We don't know exactly how far Joan Benoit is. Oh, I'm sorry, Joan, how should I doubt you?
Oh, you should never doubt me. Goodness. She's opened up another 10 seconds on Jones, so now it's a little more than a minute. Rhonda Panthil just passed 18 miles in 1:37:45, which translates to about a 2:22:28 marathon. That's a minute ahead of Joan and a further 45 seconds ahead of Ingrid.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. We'll be back as the exciting finish of the Boston Marathon is within our grasp. Hussein and Ronan and Panthil. We'll be right back. Quickly, let's go back out to, before we take a break, as we appear to have a move being made, let's go out to Tim Kilduff on the men's truck. Tim.
Bob, coming down the back side of the hill here at Boston College, I saw John Tracy grab the back of his left leg. I cannot see him now. I can't see him at all. I can see back 300 yards. He's not in the picture. John, something's obviously happened to him, and I think he may be out.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. That report that John Tracy grabbed the back of his leg and has dropped out of sight and may indeed be out of this race, as Juma Kanga a long time ago put on the brakes and said he's had enough. And Ibrahim Hussein is now checking the competition. So is Andy Ronan checking the competition. And you don't have to look very far because they are the competition. We'll be back with the finish of this year's Boston Marathon, and it looks like a good one. We have a break in the men's race as Ibrahim Hussein has broken away and reached 5 yards of distance on the Diet Pepsi men's leaderboard. So Ed Ronan and Alejandro Cruz are 2 and 3, but killed off on the men's lead truck. Obviously, Hussein is taking over this race. Tim.
Well, just short of the 22-mile mark. He's obviously putting on a move here. But something interesting way back in fourth place. I begin to see a different uniform, and it looks to me like Mekinen from this point. Maybe this thing can get even more interesting than it has been at this point. Looking around him now, you can see his face if he's on the camera. He's beginning to show a little. We're now in the Cleveland circle, and Hussein now has a 10-yard lead, and he's beginning to stretch it out.
All right, Tim, thank you very much. Greg Meyer, as Ibrahim Hussein has basically taken control of this race.
He really has, and, he was just sitting there waiting. I think he wanted to go as far as he could until he felt absolutely confident that he could make it to the finish line making his move. This is going right through Cleveland Circle. One thing I want to point out, 10 years ago, before John Hancock and the other sponsors really got serious about this race, there were people 5 feet away from the runners. What crowd control they have now, they can actually run on this course and not have people coming out sort of sticking their hands out in front of them like they used to.
Okay, my next question, Frank. Does Ronan have anything left?
He doesn't have much left, but what goes through his mind now is I've got to relax. I've got this big lead. There are only 4 miles to go. I'm 30 seconds ahead of the next person. I can run 5 minutes and 10 seconds a mile, 5 minutes and 20 seconds a mile to the end. I can still get second place. He's hanging on in the race of his life, and he doesn't feel that badly because this is so much better than he ever expected to do. Hussein is just so smooth. This is where this man really has an advantage. He's so light on his feet. He's been able to come down that hill, and he just doesn't seem to be affected by the pounding. And here's Wanda Panfil.
As Hussein is taking control of his race, Wanda Panfil is in control of her race. Jeannie Blake on the women's lead truck. Jean.
God, she's looking very strong as we come to the top of Heartbreak Hill. The lead timer here in the women's truck looks to his binoculars and says that it looks as though company's about a half a mile behind. So Wanda is looking very, very strong as she comes to the top of Heartbreak Hill.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Wanda just passed number 23, Jeff Wells. People will remember him as running second to Bill Rogers here, losing by a second, and I think down around 2:10.
And they go back about a half mile, Jeannie Blake said, from Wanda Panfil and Joan Benoit. Still running strong and looking good.
So the question is, how will she take this hill and how will she come down the other side? It's the downhills that we've been talking about. And she looks like she's gimping in a little bit to me here, but she's still in second place. She's about a minute now behind the leader, Wanda Panfil. Christensen behind her. Panfil's having to work for this, I tell you.
You can see that.
She really is. The last mile, Wanda's last mile was 5:41 miles, so she's dropped down on the pace a little pusher as you will on these hills.
Those are 2 leaders right now on the right, Wanda Panfil of Poland, on the left from Kenya, and now living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Ibrahim Hussein, who won this race with the 2nd fastest time in the history of the Boston Marathon back in 1988 as he nosed out Juma Akanga in the closest finish ever. But for today, it will not be, if this holds before him, a close finish for Ibrahim Hussein. He should have a cakewalk into the finish line.
Ibrahim Hussein was the only top-rated runner, or one of the favorites, who made the commitment to go with the pack early. He got into a racing mode, not a wait and see what's going to happen mode. He deserves to win.
He's a man also who has had a couple of down years, has not done as well as he would like, and what he did was go into virtual seclusion to train for this. It seems that in recent years, the runners who win in Boston, Bourdin last year and now Hussein this year, they go off by themselves, away from their families, and literally for months they train with no other idea in mind other than to win in Boston.
Okay, right now I mentioned them. Bourdin, it's Lindo Bourdin and Rosa Moto, the 2 defending champions, are in London and will be running the London Marathon. And that's why they are not here this year, because of the European Cup. As we left the Heartbreak Hill, here comes Journey Benoit in the green singlet.
Yeah, but look who's behind her. Look who is caught up. that looks to me like Kim Jones back there, but it should be Ingrid Christensen. Do you see that figure way in the back? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Just look how somebody's sneaking up behind her. That looks like Kim Jones to me.
Yep.
Boy, she's off the chart. She's been closing and closing and closing, but now she is past Christensen and coming on strong. Earlier, Kim Jones had said it's going to be the second pack catching the first pack. Kim has always run the second half of the race faster when she's run well. She did this in New York. Everybody remembers the dramatic close in New York City when she had 5 seconds. She lost to Rhonda Panfield, almost caught her. She made her move too late. Now she's going to try to make her move earlier.
Hussein, the leader on the left, Kim Jones in third place in the women's race on the right. Now we go full frame to Ibrahim Hussein, and we're going to take a break. As we continue our coverage, Ibrahim looks back and says, "This is mine to win," and it looks like he's going to, because in second place, Andy Ronan. It's been a game race for him, and behind him is Alejandro Cruz. We'll continue our coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon as Johnny Kelly is moving into the 10-mile mark. Stay with us. Hussein has it in focus now, perhaps his second Boston Marathon championship, as he is maybe 10 minutes, 11, 12 minutes away from finishing as he comes up Commonwealth Avenue, or rather Beacon Street. Behind him is Andy Ronan. But there is, as that puts the leaderboard that will show you, Hussein in control of this race. The development in the women's race as Kim Jones seems to be making her move as Hussein is now coming through Coolidge Corner.
Hussein still goes really under control. He's flowing out there. He looks back every now and then to check his competition. Surprisingly, I thought Cruz, when he dropped off, would be passed by other people, but he's maintaining, as is Andy Ronan. Those guys are running very tough races.
And at this point in the race, the reason you're looking around isn't because you feel yourself fading. You're into a certain effort, and you're trying to maintain it as close to the end as you possibly can. This is the effort he feels he can really take it on home with, and so he looks around to kind of gauge what that's doing in relation to Andy Ronan. So every time he looks around, he's a little bit more reinforced because he sees he's getting a little bit more distance.
Let's go right after the men's leader truck, and Tim Kilduff. Tim?
Bob, you can see for yourself what's going on in the very front here. But there's a very interesting race developing for third place. It appears now that Nippon is moved into third place. And I think he's got a shot at moving up to second. He's running, looks like he's running very strong at this point. But the leader is relaxed and in control.
Tim, thank you very much. Indeed he is. As a Beaver, McConan may be making a move for third place in this men's race. And perhaps, as Tim said, we'll try to overhaul Andy Ronan for second place, but that remains to be seen. What is seen right now is that a very confident, very together Ibrahim Hussein in control of this 95th running of the Boston Marathon.
I think Mekinen made a mistake in watching just Rocky Hura. I think he needed to go with what the lead pack was doing.
He's the only one that saw him all day.
That's right. That's right. It was a mistake. Those guys put too much emphasis on the favorite this time, and they let it get away.
Going out to Heartbreak Hill, the Hoyts. And now we go to Rhonda Panfield at Cleveland Circle.
But Bob, this race is not over. I'll tell you, Kim Jones closed 2 minutes on Rhonda Panfield since 18 miles. Are we going to see a repeat of the New York City Marathon where Kim Jones made her move too late and missed out by 5 seconds? Or will she catch her this time?
What happened in that race was Rhonda Panfield literally started to walk almost. She slowed down so much. She just crashed and burned in the last quarter of a mile.
Well, she doesn't believe that. She believes that she had a very, very good race and she was in control the whole time, is what she said to me. Isn't that amazing? Because she looked to me like she was slowing down. She looked like she was slowing down here, too. That last mile was 5:41.
She's past Jeff Wells again.
But she is still going downhill at this point. Let's not forget, and she'll have to see how her legs respond when she comes out onto the flats.
I always just turned down by, Cleveland Circle on the Beacon Street right now.
I always hated that turn at Cleveland Circle. You go over a series of railroad tracks that you just saw, and sometimes you shorten your legs to get through those without stepping on them. my legs sometimes never got stretched out again. They stayed short for the last 4 miles.
There are two leaders. Ibrahim Hussein on the left, the men's leader. Wanda Penfield of Poland on the right, the women's leader.
And Ibrahim Hussein ran well under 5 minutes for his last mile, so he is going to win this race. In his own mind, he's saying, I've got about 10 minutes, 9 minutes to go, and you start thinking about those runs you've been on, and you say, I can run for 8 minutes hard. I can get to the end. He's going to win this race.
We do have confirmation that Abib McConan has moved into 3rd place ahead of Alejandro Cruz for the men's race. Andy Ronan of Providence still holding down 2nd place for the men's, but Ibrahim Hussein is in charge, as is Wanda Penfield, but her problem, if she has one, is in a person of Kim Jones, who she does not see or does not at this point realize that Jones may be making some kind of a move, but it may be just too much of a move to overcome.
But Kim Jones really had no choice. She's found out that that's the way she races best, as Catherine said. And so it's never been her habit to go out with the leaders, and she doesn't really feel that confident or comfortable doing it. So she really didn't have any choice, but it's just, it's a matter of distance. Will she have enough distance left in the race to close the gap?
Kim Kilduff is back on the men's lead track. We'll go to him now.
We've got to race for 2nd place here. Meckinen is losing to 3rd now and is closing fast on Ronan, who, by the way, is maintaining sort of this 100 yards off the leader kind of a position. But Meckinen is making one heck of a run at it right now.
Here's the question now. If Meckinen can catch Ronan, can Meckinen catch Hussein?
That looks like a prophet.
Yes, you would. But
we've got about 7 minutes to go, and it seems that the lead is somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. So it's a matter of really Hussein slowing down to about 5:10 pace for the last mile, and Meckinen being able to run 4:50 pace for his last mile, and he will catch him.
Hussein just turned around and looked. If he sees him coming, he'll know that he has to keep the pressure on. He knows he can't relax. Even when you're in control, even when you're looking good, at the 23-mile mark of the Boston Marathon, you don't feel good.
We just have a split time now at 22 miles for Wanda Penfield. She has done that in 2 hours, 29 seconds, so that translates to a little over 2:23 marathon pace. And about 1:50 behind her now is Kim Jones.
Hussein crossing over the Mass Pike and coming up Beacon Street. We're head into Kenmore Square. And if he looked over to his right, we would see Fenway Park. As we pan down from Kenmore Square, the men's 25-mile mark. As we hit that 25 mark, you're headed to home. Go through Kenmore Square, on Cobb Avenue, go down Beacon Street, down Boston Street, all up. We're trying to run down Boston Street and then Greg Meyer run this way.
It's going to be a little bit of a closer race than we guessed, because Meckinen is running first to catch Andy Ronan. Hopefully they'll race a little bit. Hussein has no one to focus on but himself. So they're back there racing. He's there trying to maintain. Meckinen could get close, but I don't know how close.
Well, it's Kenmore Square.
It's a great shot that shows how smooth and how long Ibrahim Hussein's stride can still be. 2:06 minutes about with 1 mile to go, so he's going to run somewhere around 2 hours and 11 minutes.
Our camera atop the Boston University bookstore provided that very nice high-angle shot. As we look at Ibrahim Hussein gunning for his 2nd Boston Marathon win, and he is checking out where they are.
And if he sees 2 people back there, he knows he's in a little bit of trouble.
He knows Meckinen's back there now. He can see him on that stretch. That's a straightaway right where he's at. He knows they're coming. Or at least up the back.
He's ruling the men, and Wanda Penfield is ruling the women. None of her nearest competitors are within sight. Kim Jones perhaps making a move on Joan Benoit Samuelson. A dramatic first half of this race where Joan, Ingrid Christensen, and Wanda Penfield were stride for about an hour into this race.
And let me just give you that order. Of course, it is Penfield, and then it is Benoit Samuelson, but right behind Benoit Samuelson is Kim Jones. And my prediction is that Kim Jones will overtake Joan Benoit Samuelson. But right now, Wanda Penfield still has 2 minutes on Joan Benoit Samuelson, who is in 2nd place. And right with her is Kim Jones.
Once again, I really want to compliment our technical crew for the outstanding pictures that we've had all afternoon from both the men's and women's truck, and our stationary cameras and the helicopter shots along the way. I don't want to talk too soon and knock on wood. Let's go right down to the men's truck and Tim Kilduff once again with our leader and our eventual winner, Tim.
So Bob, Mickey has now moved into second place. Looks to me like he waited a little too long. He is making one heck of a run at it here. But Ibrahim just looked around a little bit now, but he's still relaxed. There's no sign of him fading this much. But Mekinen continues to close. It's going to be a very interesting run down Boylston Street, I think.
All right, Timmy, thank you very much. Ibrahim Hussein will see that street sign for Hereford Street and then hook a right.
Not that Mekinen would have won, but he made a tactical mistake by not going with the leaders.
Now, Ibrahim Hussein is a track runner. He's got about 3 minutes to go. You know, if you're well trained the way he is, that you can actually go into oxygen debt. You can really start your sprint with about 3 minutes to go. So he can press here. He's just passed a very good mental point. He's saying, I can really press, and even if I start to die a little bit, I can still make it to the finish. So he's got to maintain this momentum. Mekinen, on the other hand, knows he's getting him with every step, but he's trying to hold his effort so that he doesn't go just a little bit too hard.
Well, we are watching the winner, and we'll switch over to Wanda Penn for a minute as he turns down Hereford Street and heads up toward the Heinz Convention Center that you can see at the end of that street. But now from the other angle at the convention center, we can see him coming toward us. But just remember, there's 9,000 other people on the roads between here and Hopkinton that are nowhere in sight. You'd think it was a 1 and 2 mile race, as Mekinen also has turned down Hereford Street. Right behind, and Hussein can see him. Right behind Hussein, and you can see both runners in view. You can't see on your shot right now, but Hussein is in view of Mekinen.
It's not going to happen. He can't catch him in that short of time. Something drastic would have to happen to Hussein. Now he can see it. He can smell it from here.
Well, of course, it's a run to the public library now and no longer to the old Prudential Center. But as Mekinen, you'll see this shot in just a couple seconds. Mekinen will be making a turn from Hereford Street onto Boylston Street, and you'll be able to see both runners in frame. This is our camera from the stereo. He is right there. Mekinen, we weren't live, and here comes Ronan. But now this is a little deceiving. There is a lot of distance between these two guys. Hussein turns around and looks. I mean, Mekinen is closing. The question is, can he catch him? There is a fair amount of distance between these two guys, but this is at least looking like a race.
I want to tell you, Andy Ronan ran one gutsy race. Mekinen made a tactical error early on.
And Andy Ronan is not rolling over here.
Well,
he is not falling back.
He's using Mekinen. He's saying, pull me close, get me closer.
Well, Mekinen is sprinting, and Hussein is jogging at the moment.
But Hussein has such a high gear. Such a high gear.
Such a smooth form.
What is it about this race that you have these finishes all the time? It's just incredible. Now Hussein is starting to lift a little bit. You can see he used to carry his hands high. Now he's starting to use them. He's shifted gears, looking around.
Interesting perspective, isn't it? When the camera angle,
He knows.
He knows it now.
Ibrahim Hussein will win his second Boston Marathon.
He ran smart.
Of course, he's coming down to the cheers of the thousands lined the streets here in Boylston Street. To the finish. He's the only one that stayed in the lead pack all the way, and he has run his race and run it to perfection. Second, and Andy Ronan. What a race for him, finishing third. 2:11:27.
Great story. What a great story there.
Here's our champion. He's been here before in '88 when he beat Juma Kanga by 1 second. And Alejandro Cruz coming down Boylston Street as well.
What a good moment for Hussein to be able to come back after a few bad years.
Ibrahim Hussein getting the laurel wreath as the winner of the 1991 Boston Marathon. His time 2:11:06. Not a course record, not a world record, but good enough to win here today. He did run his own race. He didn't stay behind Walker Horry. He had no other plan. He just ran his own race. He and Okondo were out there stride for stride, but he was his own master from start to finish today.
Well, Abraham Hussein likes to be with the lead pack. He likes to be in first, second, or third place. He doesn't hide amongst the other runners. He wants to be right out there. He's most comfortable in the front, and he's a very good front runner, and really that is what won the race for him today. He ran the way he knows he has to run. Here comes Douglas Wakihuri coming in. Just a little bit over 2 hours and 13 minutes, but this is the one man in this race who was not afraid of this man, Douglas Wakihuri.
Which is what his friends were saying earlier. As another Kenyan, he just didn't have the fear that a lot of the other people had of Douglas. That, he was here to do what he had to do. He ran, like you said, on his own instincts, not playing into the hands of Wakihuri.
Yeah, well, one thing I can think about Douglas at this point is that he left from New Zealand 2 days after I did, and I was so jet-lagged this week. I'm wondering if he just wasn't completely jet-lagged, because he has been completely out of form in this race.
All right, let's go to the finish line, where we believe we're able to get an interview with the winner.
Watching you out there, I was surprised some of these top people didn't go with you, Abraham.
I was waiting for them to come and go. I didn't want to do the things we did last year. And I haven't competed for 1 year, and the last time I competed was here last year.
Were you surprised no one went with you? I mean, you kept looking back.
I kept on looking back, waiting for anybody to come and help me. But there was nobody.
What thoughts went through your mind when you were with Andy Ronan? Were you confident that you'd have more sprint speed and could outkick him?
I knew I could outkick him, but you never underestimate anybody. Because he looked good. And I didn't want him to run away from me.
What were your thoughts when you looked back over your shoulder? Did you realize a baby Mekkonen was gaining on you?
Yeah, I saw. I looked back. I kept on looking back to see. I had a problem last year with my Achilles, and I didn't want to kick at the end because, you never know what might happen if you are at the end with the guys who have been walking out in the track.
When over the last few miles did you realize that Mekkonen was coming on you?
I think it was about 1.5 miles to go. I looked back and I saw green uniform like mine, so I figured maybe I'll be able to work on it.
Was there any wind out there? The wind, was it a factor out there?
I think we had a little headwind instead of tailwind. And my mind was to interest. I didn't care about anything.
Was there any conversation out there at all amongst the lead pack? Sometimes there's a lot of it.
There was a point where I saw the guy from Tanzania. He came and I thought he was ready to start moving up. And
you told me that even though you hadn't run in 5 or 6 months, you had a good chance to win. We want to congratulate you on your second victory.
Thank you very much. It's a little cold, so I'm talking funny.
Good to see you again, everyone.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And that is our winner, Ibrahim Hussein, 2:11:06. And now here's Wanda Penfield in races that have yet to be won. But she is in and has been in control of the women's race since just before Heartbreak Hill, the spring of 4 hills, when she pulled ahead of Joan Benoit Samuelson. Catherine?
Well, she just passed 24 miles, so she's up to 25 miles by now, but she passed 24 in 2:11:36. She should finish in 2:23:46 around that time, which would be the second fastest ever Boston Marathon time, and that looks like Joan Benoit now. Joan Benoit Samuelson still in second place. I had predicted that Kim Jones was going to catch her. Kim Jones must be very near her if she hasn't. But what a wonderful story to see Joan Benoit Samuelson running a race that she hasn't run in about 6 years. It's wonderful to see her back like this.
Now let's go out to the women's lead truck where Jeannie Blake is standing by. Jeannie?
Well, Kevin Pickett said earlier on in this race that Wanda's upper body strength is super well, and her arms are really pumping, and she is looking really strong. And I'm sure energized by the crowd, which has gotten bigger and bigger and harder and harder as we get closer and closer to the center of the city.
Jeannie, thank you very much. As she comes up past Stitches. As you can see in the background, one of Boston's comedy locations.
It's going to be a wonderful performance for Wanda Panfil. Her previous best was a 2:26. She's going to be practically 3 minutes under that now, and that's going to be great. And people who remember seeing her run in New York and having some side stitches and having trouble taking water and then the heat, can watch her run now and watch her and imagine that she is one of the most fantastic women marathon runners this year.
Coming up Hooker Street in the Masters competition is Kenneth Judson, who we've, in our Spotters Network, has put in the lead. Kenneth Judson in the Masters competition. But Wanda Panfil is coming now into Kenmore Square. A few moments ago, we saw Ibrahim Hussein. As we said, if you look left, you can see Fenway, and Wanda's in the same situation, although she'll be coming into Kenmore in just a second. And coming in great shape. She looks to be in total control, but Catherine, as you mentioned, Joan Benoit, what a great story today.
You know, she decided, Joan Benoit Simonson decided she was going to come to Boston just to try to vindicate 89. She didn't want that to end her career when she had such a disappointing 2:37 finish. She said she thought she could run under 2:30, but who would ever believe that she's going to be around 2:24, 2:25? It's just amazing. That means Joan Benoit Simonson is back in the ranks of women's world marathon running.
All right, this is our shot again from the top of the BU bookstore.
2:18 with 1 mile to go. Wanda's last mile was 5:30. She's running a wonderful race.
And this is, as you said, literally minutes faster than her best previous race.
Well, she's been training in the mountains of Toluca, Mexico, and she's been training the downhills as much as she's been training the uphills. Greg and I were speculating that she could probably do those uphills all right, lots of altitude training, but could she handle the downhills? And she's proved that she can do that here today.
A few moments ago, Wanda Panfil passed stitches and came up on the bridge across the turnpike. Joan Benoit was in that same situation. Just crossing the bridge across the Mass Pike, on her right would be Fenway Park. Two New England milestones, or what have you, Joan Benoit and Fenway Park institutions.
Joni's shown a little bit of pain in her face, not just fatigue, but pain. But at this point, she's a mile to go, and she's going to get home from here. And she's going to be, I think, real happy with the performance she put in today. I don't think she expected to run this fast. But Joni always puts herself into a position of having the opportunity to run well. She'll never go out and hesitate. She'll commit herself to the task at hand.
She said that she would consider herself back into marathoning if she would run under 2:30, and that's exactly what she has done here today.
And she's going to do it by about 5 minutes, in fact. I mean, that's just incredible. And in fact, her time is going to be one of the top times ever run at Boston.
Kim Jones may have made too big of a move too soon. Used it because she was running fast off the hills from the Cleveland Circle. She might have done it a little bit too hard too soon and be paying the price for it.
Very hard to see, Greg, where the camera is, but I looked back there. I couldn't see her back there, and I agree that if she picked up 2 minutes in the hills, that's a tough place to do it.
And Wanda Panfil has to be saying to herself, well, it happened to me in New York, but it certainly isn't happening to me here. And she knows that she slowed down in New York, and she's not doing it here. She can relax all the way to the finish. And at this point, running with the men really is an advantage because she can work off some of these men now and really help herself pull along. Usually at this point, though, the women runners are passing men, which means it must have really spread out because usually you see more men at this point.
Joan Benoit now into Kenmore Square, and I think if you asked her after this race why she runs Boston, it will be moments like this that you know this crowd is acknowledging her in the greatest possible way in terms of experience and love for what she has meant to this race over the years.
Look at this wonderful picture of the two of them. Joan Benoit's legs are turning over almost as fast as Wanda Panfil's, and she has a shorter leg stride than Wanda's, but she is running very, very well. Look at Joni just flying now.
Kim Jones is only about 8 or 10 seconds back. If you look, you can just make her out there. She's got to be focusing in on Joni and just say, please let me catch Joni, please.
You're seeing a very interesting shake-up in women's marathon running. You're seeing an old-timer come back, and when people had really kind of written her off, didn't want to, but they did. Wanda Panfil and Joni Benoit Samuelson and Kim Jones all beating Ingrid Christensen. Ingrid, of course, one of the greatest, if not the greatest women marathon runner of all time, now has to go back to the drawing board and see how much more training she has to do to get back into that 2:21.06 shape.
Wanda just turned up toward Hereford Street, and where that other guy behind her, he came from the right-hand side. Anyway, that's beside the point. She is coming up Hereford Street and will turn down Boylston. It's remarkable how the field has spread out at this point of the race.
But look at Kim Jones making a fast close.
This will be an interesting race for second and third.
The course record for women at Boston is a 2:22.43. That won't be broken today, but it looks like
Kim Jones and
Kim Jones is
Benoit.
going to be catching up with her.
Can Joni hang on? Does Joni know she's there?
Joni knows she's there. Joni is a tough competitor.
The difference here, though, is Joni Benoit ran to win, and she didn't win. Kim Jones was running for, I think, more of a place. She was much more conservative. It's a different kind of a race.
Well, we predicted that there would be some kind of sprint finish in the women's race, but we never predicted this would happen. Here it comes. Kim Jones is going to catch Joan Benoit Samuelson, and let's see what Joan can do. No, it was pretty decisive. Kim Jones took her over.
And when she went by, she really upped her leg speed. You could see she's sprinting. She's making sure she gets by.
She was making a statement.
Yes, you have to do that. If you can possibly, you must do that.
Or was it too much? Let's see.
And Jones coming up Commonwealth Avenue. Joni Benoit behind her now in third place. And soon they'll be turning down as Wanda Panfield will be coming down Boylston Street and will be crossing the finish line to win the women's division of the 1991 Boston Marathon. Kim Jones has comfortably moved into second place.
Well, I wouldn't say comfortable. I think she's working like crazy. But running a wonderful race for her. It's going to be a personal best for her as well, by far.
It's
You can
amazing.
see her now closing on Wanda. You see her in the background there?
It's amazing how well the American women are doing compared to the American men in marathoning right now. The women are just that much stronger. I don't know if it's a cycle we go through or what, but the women are performing much better at an international level.
Kim Jones has just turned down Hereford Street off of Commonwealth Avenue. And Joan Benoit will be making that same move. She is probably about 10 seconds behind Kim Jones. But here's the winner, the women's winner of the 91 Boston Marathon, Wanda Panfield. Our time 2:24.17.
And that is the second fastest female Boston Marathon win time in history. She's with Mauricio Gonzalez on her left. That's her husband and her coach. He's a top 10,000 meter runner. It's a wonderful victory for her. Now, if we can go back out of the course and see how close this is going to be between Kim Jones and Joan Benoit Samuelson.
Well, they both turned down Hereford Street, so momentarily they should be coming down Boylston.
Well, it's a new Polish record also for Wanda Panfield. And she looks a lot fresher than she did in New York. I think a lot of us remember that she was really wiped out there. She looks in complete control here. And here we come down now to this second place. Kim Jones on the bottom of the screen looking at her watch. Just behind her, coming up, Joan Benoit Samuelson. Kim looked behind.
Wanda getting her laurel wreath and her bouquet. Kim Jones in second place. It looks like she'll finish second. Joan Benoit. Fabulous performance today, providing a lot of the early drama in this race. She and Ingrid Christensen and Wanda Panfield were a trio for almost 45 minutes to an hour into this race. We had some very, very... But Wanda Panfield did prevail to win the women's race. And Kim Jones did catch Joni down the final stretch on Commonwealth Avenue in the final mile of this grueling 26-mile plus event. And that'll be Kim Jones in front, finishing second. Joan Benoit will finish third. Ibrahim Hussein and Wanda Panfield are our Boston Marathon champions for 1991.
Kim Jones takes one last look behind just to make sure. It's pretty scary sometimes like this, isn't it, Greg? And it's that close. It's going to be a personal best for her about 2 minutes.
Okay, let's go down to the winner's circle and the interview with a champion.
Out there. She kept pushing it. Was she confident she could hold it from when she made her move on Ingrid?
¿Cuándo hiciste tu carrera? ¿Cuándo hiciste ¿Cuándo pensaste tú que empezaste a correr más rápido? ¿Cómo estuvo?
25 kilómetros, yo pensaba que necesito más rápido porque me sentía lento poquito con ellos.
She was very comfortable the pace until the 25 kilometers. After that, she was started pushing her pace.
Was her tactic in the beginning to sit on Ingrid Christensen's shoulder to try and psychologically kind of give her a hard time out there?
Yeah, that's we spoke about that before the race, and she did very well.
Was she surprised when Ingrid fell away so quickly?
Come
back here.
Se quedó muy rápido.
Que tiene algo porque cuando empezamos a correr estuvo siempre las manos abajo y no igual que siempre. Cuando estaba muy fuerte ella corre más rápido.
She said she was looking at her from the beginning because she was putting the hand down and she was thinking something happened with Ingrid and she...
Did she suffer any particular bad periods herself out there during the race?
Que si te sentiste en alguna parte de la carrera mal o algo tuviste...
La última parte es un poquito más pesada porque muchas subidas y yo pensé que con otras personas más rápido podía correr.
She said the last part she felt very bad because of the hot hills and but she think with another person, with another runner, she can running a little bit faster.
Well, congratulations, your time, the 5th fastest performance of all time in history.
All right, as we listen to the interview with Wanda Planko, we want to point out something that occurred at the end of the finish between Kim Jones and Joan Benoit. And that was that Ulla Pippig of Germany did manage to nose out Joan Benoit at the finish line. It just almost went unnoticed because she came out of nowhere.
She really had a fast close, and she must have been behind Jones and must have had a sprint finish, but she just sneaked in there, just got it right at the finish line.
So
it was really incredible.
Joan Benoit finishing 4th, but a great time of 2:26, almost 2:27, 2:26.56 in that range for Joan Benoit. But she did finish 4th. There's Ulla Pippig. There's Kim Jones and Wanda Planko. Ulla Pippig did nose out Joan Benoit right at the finish line for 3rd place. Kim Jones finishing 2nd.
Ingrid is just finishing now in a little bit over 2:29, which still not a bad performance anytime you break 2:30. We did get word, though, that Jumi Kanga has been admitted to the hospital. So we don't know what's wrong there yet, but it's not good.
Okay, there's Joan Benoit right now, and she has run a great race. Let's go right down to the finish line if that's possible. Scott Wallace standing by.
Joan, a magnificent race. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a tough race, but I wanted sub 2:30 and I got it.
You certainly did. All right, we're losing our cord here, and Joan Benoit Samuelson is being whisked away, but this was not a victory in the Boston Marathon, but certainly a personal victory for Joan Benoit Samuelson today. Bob, back to you.
All right, Scott, that was as talkative as she has been in most years after her performances in the marathon, and we were happy to get her to comment because she did accomplish what she set out to accomplish. She wanted to run into 2:30. We're going to have more of our continuing coverage of the Boston Marathon and perhaps take another look at that Joan Benoit finish where Ulla Pippig, we believe, nosed her out for 3rd place. But nonetheless, Joni is very happy, as she said, a tough race, but she did accomplish what she came here to accomplish, and she did it to spare. We'll be back with more coverage of the 95th running of the Boston Marathon. All right, for most of the last couple of hours, we've been following 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 runners in the pack, but as we've mentioned, this is the final. This is Kim Jones. Let's go right to this. This is her finishing 2nd, and Joan Benoit Samuelson was in 3rd place, but Ulla Pippig of Germany will catch her at the last second.
Here she goes.
Ulla Pippig.
There on the left. F1, just bursting ahead. She had to close 30 seconds in the last mile. Now, do you know what that means? I mean, that means that she was sprinting for the last 2 miles, just all out to pass Joan and to come up like that. It's just incredible performance for Ulla Pippig as well.
And here's our pre-race favorite, Ingrid Christensen. Let's go down to her interview. Is it possible to get her on? Or is it just a video?
Well, Ingrid here has finished 5th in the race.
Video only. All right, let's go to the top 10 men so far in this year's Boston Marathon. The men's finish, Ibrahim Hussein, 2:11:06. No course record, no American record, no world record, but he wins it all. Habib McConan with a big kick at the end. Andy Ronan with the race of his life, providing a lot of drama. Alejandro Cruz neck and neck for a while with Ronan. as we go down through 5, 6, 7, and 8. Top 10, Doug Walker-Hurry did come in number 6. And that's it. Those are the top 10 men's finishers. Some surprises, Greg Meyer? Why don't you pronounce some of those names?
No, I think the surprise is that Walker-Hurry was as far back. I thought Douglas Walker-Hurry would lose the race if it was fast. I thought the course would beat him up. I didn't think he would lose running this kind of a race. I'm surprised by that.
All right, women's top 5, let's go to that for it. Wanda Panfield, Kim Jones, Uta Pippig, just at the end, and Joan Benoit Samuelson, and then Ingrid Christensen. You know, those are the top 5 women we said would be the top 5 women. It was just the order that was a little mixed
And the
up.
closeness of the finish, just unbelievable. It was the second fastest time in Boston winning history for the women.
Okay, we've been told that we are going to take a break. We have other exciting things coming up. We want to get to them, so let's pause in our coverage of the running of the Boston Marathon for 1991.
We are with Ingrid Christensen, a comeback race for you, Ingrid. So congratulations on finishing. I know it's fewer than 9 months since the birth of your second child. How did it go for you today?
I feel it was okay in the first halfway, but after halfway I got cramps in both my legs, and then it was very hard to keep on running, and I slowed down, and 4 or 5 girls came and picked me up. So I feel I'm in a very good shape, but my legs isn't in good enough shape. So maybe next time.
Well, considering the way your body reacted, you made an excellent finish, didn't you?
Yeah.
All is said and done.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but of course I hope to run a little bit faster, and I still think I can make it better next time.
What about Joan Benoit Samuelson's race today? She really ran a terrific race as well.
Yeah, she surprised me. She ran a really good race. So I didn't know that she was in so good shape. And of course her legs is stronger than my legs then. But I think my heart is good enough frame, but my leg was a little bit too short time from the break.
26 miles, 385 yards, and you hardly look winded. I think you did very well today.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, that is Ingrid Christensen, and we will be back for more coverage of the Boston Marathon in just a moment. Stay right there.